Hello. Good start. I almost forgot the time to start there. I was messing with the setup and everything. So, anyway, welcome back, everyone. Hello. Good evening to an Amiga evening. Amiga evening. Sure, why not? How's everyone doing tonight? I know Andy, you stopped by earlier. Sorry the time zone doesn't really work out, but hopefully everyone's ready for me to bumble around the Amiga world and not knowing what I'm doing. So, hopefully everyone's having a good night and a good retro week so far. Mike Boy, welcome. I think I just realized, I was trying to say that I want to reduce the barrier for me to stream and not be so, peculiar about it or like have to make a big thing out of it. And I need to reload this machine. Okay, why not stream it while I'm doing it? Then we can chat about Amiga and what I've learned so far. And hopefully someone joins who's more versed in the platform than I am because I'm learning as I go. And I'm sure there's a million better ways to do what I'm doing. So, um, but yeah, welcome everyone back again. Need some more caffeine. There we go. I think for most of you that know me already, know that Amiga is dear to my heart as far as the platform goes. I grew up, my neighbor had an Amiga 500 across the street, so I got a lot of exposure to early computing from that neighbor. And if you're watching it later, hello, Buddha. It was just a really fun way to experience and explore computing because I hadn't really done it much besides consoles. We had a Commodore 128 that my brother managed to convince my dad we needed for school, work, and business, but it was for gaming. Like all the time someone convinced a parent to buy a computer, it was for gaming. Um, so just it opened up my eyes a little bit playing NES, Super Nintendo, stuff like that, and then seeing the Amiga was just there were so many cool experiences on it, and we've streamed it before, both through the Mister and through a real Amiga. So what we're playing on tonight, and I don't really have, I need to rig up the action cam again because I don't have a good way to show it right now the way I'm set up. And I'm thinking about kind of redoing my streaming setup so I can display things better, maybe have a camera overhead all the time so I can do more show and tell on the desk and everything. But right now, what we got? Uh, this is an Amiga 2000, which is a big box Amiga, which is you probably saw on the thumbnail. It's basically an Amiga 500 in a kind of corporate dress. It was made to be expandable and be one that you could use in a business setting. Most of them here, at least, were used for video editing, and you probably heard of the toaster, the video toaster. A lot of times when you saw news channels or local broadcasts in the 90s, they were running on video toasters because it was much cheaper than buying a full suite or an old school editor, and it allowed to do a whole bunch of cool effects on the screen. That is correct. So BlueSCSI is the topic tonight, which is what I'm using as a hard drive. And it's not a turnkey, I guess that makes sense. So I'm planning on doing a video on this machine to detail it some more so I can actually show it off real. But the BlueSCSI is a SCSI emulator, correct? And it can do more than just hard drives, for sure. It can do CDs. It can also do what's really cool on the Amiga, above all, is that it can do wireless connection. It can emulate a network card, and you can connect. So we're not going to do it tonight because I don't think we'll have time, and I haven't done it myself yet. But I will love to do that for a stream. You can actually set up SMB and everything on an Amiga to download files from a share on your network, or FTP it to and fro the Amiga, which would be really convenient. The Amiga file system is not compatible with your IBM /DOS/ whatever, so you can't just make a disk and copy it. So that's always the struggle with the Amiga, and there's different ways to do it. GoTech, which is a floppy drive emulator, probably the most common one. When I do have that, I have a USB stick here and a GoTech installed. We'll use that tonight as we reload our Amiga. And it's one of those, like, it's not super convenient. I love networking stuff, as you probably know by now. So if you use a Pico W on your BlueSCSI, you can actually, network your Amiga with that. There's other ways to do it too. Plipbox, which is like a parallel port device that emulates a network card and stuff like that. And people have come up with some pretty ingenious way to do this. And it's actually a modern TCP/IP stack for the Amiga available called Roadshow, I think. That one does cost money, but I think it'll be worth it. So you can network your Amiga. You can go online and browse the internet on your Amiga if you wanted to. Now, this is Amiga OS 2.05. So we're running basically the BIOS ROM is a kickstart, is what they call it, and it has to match the OS or at least be close to it. So this computer is equipped with Kickstart 2.05 05 or something like that. I'm sure I'm saying the wrong version now. But it's a chip on the board, and that's what you have to do to upgrade it. You have to do, you can get a newer version, like the 1.3 is the one that was on Amiga 500. That has the blue floppy background that's, at least for me, is the most nostalgic. 2.0 here, which has a little cleaner entry, and then the last one the Commodore made was the 3.14, I want to say, or at least 3.1 or something. Again, I'm an Amiga novice when it comes to this stuff. And it's still being developed. You can buy a new version of AmigaOS 3.22 right now, which is the most current one, I believe, which has a lot of bug fixes, features, and stuff like that. So if you want to run a modern, updated version of AmigaOS on your retro computer, you can, and that's pretty cool. In your Revenant, welcome. But yeah, we're running here on a classic. This is a real vintage machine, of course, and it's a real vintage operating system and everything. So we're going to reload that today. And the BlueSCSI is providing a hard drive for us, but there is a SCSI controller. Evening, Bruce, welcome. Yes, it is Rick Prime. There is a SCSI controller in this computer. The Amiga 2000 by default does not have a SCSI controller built in. I guess, unless I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it does not. You need the SCSI controller. And I have a SCSI expansion card that has basically a hard card. It would fit a full hard drive on there, plus the memory expansion, which we have. So this machine is currently loaded up, as you'll see in the window up here now. And I will say right away, I'll apologize for capture. I really struggled to get a good, clean capture. And I didn't want to spend too much time on it. I have other options, and I'm going to pursue a different way. There's actually a expansion card that uses, again, a Pico, to do the RGB capture directly to HDMI out. And then you can capture that and get crisp 1080p from there. So right now, we're outputting the native PAL of this Amiga. And capturing that through data path. So it's a real hassle to get it clean. So the screen is not going to be perfect tonight. I know I kind of am a perfectionist with that, but just, yeah, we'll just roll with it. Yeah, and it's really fun. If you use the Mister to export Amiga, I highly recommend getting the images for Amiga Vision. You can go to AmigaVision.com, and it's a great collection. If you just want to play Amiga games, it's fantastic, because it's a pre-made image. Drop it on your Mister, and now you can play a nice selection of games that you select from a menu system. So if you want to dip your toe in it, great place to start. You can exit the Workbench, which is the desktop you're seeing in a corner, and mess around there too. And you can build a brand new, quote-unquote Amiga from a Mister image. But if you just want to get started, Amiga Vision is a great option because, well, it's a pre-done image for you. So we're going to take a poke around a little bit quick on this machine before we nuke it. Now, the nice part is, since we're using a virtual hard drive, I can make a backup of this. So if we mess around tonight and I blow everything up, not a big deal. I'll just move the hard image back onto the SD card and we're all done. And again, I'm going to plan on making a real video on this machine, and I feel bad for saying that, stay tuned. But it's not really practical for me to put a camera on it. But we have the SCSI card has the BlueSCSI attached to it and mounted like a normal SCSI device. And then I have an SD card extender that sticks out of the case, so I can grab the SD card easy enough. And I'm planning on printing something that will hold up better, but right now it's just flopping around the back of the case. But it works. It makes it easy to transfer stuff. The Amiga uses these kind of drives here. We have DH0. You can name them anything you want, but this is hard drive 0, hard drive 1, and then the RAM disk. And this particular machine does have an accelerator in it. I can show there's a tool here that will let you... And you can see, like, it's a GUI. And again, I apologize for the kind of poor capture quality here now and all the how horrible it looks, but it is what it is. It actually has, let's see what it's going to switch to. Yeah. So this is a tool that shows you your machine and test. So we have an accelerator card in here, actually. And the Amiga by default has like a 7 megahertz 6800 processor. And it's not fast, but it works fine. There's an accelerator, however, this particular accelerator does not have the daughter board that has the memory on it, so it does not run at the full, I think it's 25 megahertz speed that it would. It's like, that was blazing fast. So I'm working on that. I actually got this machine from awesome streamer, Nate the Adventurer, and he hooked me up with this machine. And yes, I believe so. Amiga Vision is a great way to start, and yes, it's for the Analog Pocket. But needless to say, this particular accelerator is not working very well in here. It's in here, and it's accelerating a little bit. You can actually do a speed test here. And it's computing the performance. And this is what everyone does when they have an accelerator in here. And we're barely above the benchmark for an Amiga 2000. Because I'm not going into detail, and I'm still learning about it. Yeah, I thought I stopped that. Yeah, we don't have a... But I paused that. The logo is rotating. I don't have a good one for the Amiga, so ignore the 486 that flopped up there. The speed is not reflective of what it can do. The accelerator has to offload memory to the main board, which is very slow, which is slowing it down. Imagine like disabling the cache equivalent, right? It's not getting nearly the full performance speed that you would get out of this 28 megahertz CPU. But we do get a little extra memory from it. It does have a memory expansion on it as well. 6 megabytes of extra memory. We have 2 megabytes of chip RAM on the machine, so we're pretty... You can get a way more on Amiga, but at least we're pretty set for what we have. We can look at our drives, and we can see sort of the BlueSCSI GVP SCSI device. So we'll get to that. I just wanted to show real quick. And I have this thing loaded up, and what I'm hoping to do, this is my goal today, is to reload this machine with more drives, because I was dumb enough that I created one drive of 1 gigabyte, and I partition it. It's like, well, you can create as many drives as you want, so we're going to do that tonight. We're going to create like 3 drives, probably. One for the OS, one for games, one for demos and apps, whatever it is. And just create more of them. Because what happened is that I was messing around with this, and I drug a folder to the wrong one, and I think... You see here, just 0 kilobytes free, and that's not correct. There should be a lot more space on this one, and now there's a write error on this drive. And it's not worth mucking around with it. I know more how to reload it, so what we're going to do, a plan on, is to basically create new drives for this, reinstall it from scratch like you would a real Amiga, which, well, it's a real Amiga. We're going to get the OS installed from floppy, GoTech. And once we have that fully installed, then we can, in theory, take the old hard drive image and attach it as an additional drive, and then I can copy the files off here, so I don't have to reload, because I put a lot of games on here, so I'll show you here, and I'm not sure why it doesn't do this, but I have dropped a lot of games on here, and we do have a joystick ready to go for playing later. You know, I have thrown on every game I could think of that I would want, so I have copied a lot of them here, and these run in general, so I'm hoping to do that again. But the nice part with being virtual is that if I host a new install, I just swap out the drive again, and then we're fine. So normally you could do this with multiple SD cards, but I'm not going to do that tonight here. So there isn't much more we can do with the Amiga right now, or we can do, but I don't want to because it has a write error on the drive. So anything I try to mess with basically just crashes. So what we're going to do is that I'm going to power off this Amiga, which is a literal hard switch on the back. It's a power switch. There we go. That's turning off. I am going to do this because we are going to take the SD card here. So this is my hard drive, 16 gigabytes. Put that in my SD card reader. Take a look at what it looks like. Find the right one. So let's see. Here's our SD card. And this is a BlueSCSI one. I'm sorry I don't have it zoomed in very well here, but this is, again, a BlueSCSI hard drive emulator. And all it does is mount an HDA file like this that you see here. So all we need to do, really, is to move this off and copy it, and so I can have it as a backup. And then we're going to copy new ones and rename them so we have multiple drives. We'll start the drivers that are used for the SCSI card, and then it will detect it and everything. We have to format the drives ahead of time because they're not formatted right now, so we need to do all that. And that's the stuff I've only done like once or twice, so that might be a little iffy. If there's any Amiga experts on here, chime in. But there's a specific driver disk for the SCSI controller, and that's why we have to mess with it. So first off, I'm going to take this. Copy that off. Doing something in another window here quick. I'm copying this this file off here now. And we'll see. I have had some problems with the SD card reader. For some reason, going read-only, and I'm not sure why it's doing. I think the SD card reader I'm using is, yeah, it's read-only. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Yeah, for some reason now this SD card is just showing us a read only, and that's somewhat annoying. I can't delete stuff off it. So let me try a couple of things here. Not showing right now, but I'm running this part. Sorry about that. Trying to find the right command. There's a command to clear the. So for some reason, yeah, it just keeps doing read only, and I'm not entirely sure why. I think it's my reader that's on the way out, so we'll have to mess with it a little bit here to see if I can get it to play nice. Read only. Like the actual notch is set to not read only, but for some reason it just doesn't. Like my $2 reader from Amazon is not playing nice. Come on. We'll do it live. Read only. Uh, no, it is not. What you see behind is an Amiga 500 box, so this will be different. Come on. See, that's the thing when you do mess with this stuff. Like, the stuff that should be easy is the stuff that's complicated. So, is anyone in chat here that has any experience or anything? Because, I mean, I don't want to assume, or, again, I've been learning it as I go. For my experience with the Amiga when I was a kid was just going to my neighbor across the street and, flopping in a floppy and playing. So, learning about Amiga OS has been an experience in itself. So, it does not want to go away from read only. Keeping read only. Yeah, the 68000 uh, has been used in so many things. That's why it's a very popular processor, because it was cheap and it was used for everything, including the Amiga, then 7 megahertz or so. And then there are multiple upgrades you can get to 680, 20, 30, 40, etc., that are faster clock speed. Read only. I try and plug it into the back of the machine. So let me try that. But yeah, sure, send the kids down so they can, because I work in IT as a profession, and the amount of time people stand over my shoulder to try and help me, yeah. Goodness, yeah, I don't have any ports free. That's how stacked my back of my computer is. I don't want to unplug anything else. I'll kill the stream. I try a couple times. Otherwise, if you would like to help, dear wife, could run down the my other laptop. I think that's upstairs still. If not, I'll run up and get it because that's an SD card reader in it. So we'll do it live, read only. I should probably buy a new SD card reader unless I have one here actually. I have an old reader here that takes really old cards. We will do it live. I think this is every time I mess with something, like, again, you get stuck on the simple stuff. I'm wondering or guessing that one of the pins or something uh, is the problem. Because it's like it's not triggering the read-only part or the that it's cleared or whatever. So I'm running a command in this part that says clear read-only, but it still doesn't clear the actual read-only. So good times. I'm using this part. I'm gonna have to go around and get my other laptop because it has an SD card reader in it, and then we'll try that in case. I might just use this too much or something. So the pins, it's got a little connection here. Wouldn't surprise me if the pins are kind of shot. A couple more times, then I'll go get the other laptop. Do live. Now I'm going to order a new SD card reader, I'm pretty sure. Read only. All right. I'll be right back. I gotta run get the other laptop because it has an SD card reader. Unless I have another one here, I don't think so. Oh, so enjoy staring at nothing for 2 seconds. There we go. No one took my stuff. We are indeed live, so we'll definitely do it live. Firing this up here. This machine has an SD card reader on the side, which has been really convenient, so. I'm going to copy a backup of here. I don't have this for stream there, but I'm going to copy this backup onto this. And then I need to grab the blank file. Love everything networked, so I'm working on it here. So perhaps someone can regale us with a thrilling tale of retro while we're messing with this. What I'm doing now is, as you can see it, I am copying we'll mount this into this machine when I'm done with this, and I'll show you what it looks like. But I'm copying a blank image. You can basically download for BlueSCSI blank hard drive images that are zeroed out 1 GB or different sizes. You can create your own as well, and that basically lets you create a blank hard drive in the size of the file. So then when the computer sees it, that's what it's going to see is a blank SCSI hard drive 1 GB, and then we can partition, format it, etc. So what I'm going to do is probably create 3 hard drives. I can add more later, but we use 3 SCSI IDs. I think I should have done this in the beginning, so I mentioned earlier, but what I did was that I created one LUN or one hard drive, and I partitioned it. It's like, that's really not as convenient as it should be, because having the actual hard drive images be separate makes it a lot easier to back up, copy, and move around, because right now I have one hard drive with the OS partition on the beginning, and then games and apps or whatever. So now the games and apps one is having problems. Well, now I have to rebuild that whole disk. So let's see. Have it on the side here, then we'll plop this into the other machine so you guys can see it too. So it's this thrilling Amiga stream of watching the File Explorer in action. But yeah, I have a lot of fond memories of the Amiga, just from the exposure to it. Oh, well, happy birthday or belated birthday. That sounds about right. Funny when you become parent and as you get older, your birthdays become less and less about you and more about, kids and keeping them alive and all that stuff. But happy belated birthday. Um, but yeah, it's been fun for me to explore the Amiga because it's one of those, it's adjacent enough that I know enough about it versus going in blind. When I work with a lot of retro Mac stuff, it's learning it from scratch, and I have some Amiga exposure. I know a little bit about it. So it's fun and exciting to kind of build up that repertoire. So, all right. I'm duplicating and again, you can't see this. It's exciting, isn't it? I'll have to tell it in a riveting way, I suppose, but I'm duplicating the hard drive image. And what it is like it's an entire gigabyte file because it has to have the whole hard drive. And from there, you can mess with it within the Amiga OS and everything. So we'll get back to the Amiga here in just a minute, which is why I always carry backup. But yeah, my trusty laptop here, it's handy for this purpose for sure. And that's what I use a lot when I'm doing retro stuff. It's nice to have a laptop to plunk down next to your retro computer versus my regular desktop. So you don't have to run back and forth, and it's been really helpful, especially one with an SD card in it. So we'll get back to Amiga stuff here in just a second, but I just want to show the structure of the files once we get them going here. So do one more. I want to make 3 drives. And the cool thing is that even if we add X number of drives into the Amiga, we can always add more afterward, because it's like attaching another SCSI device. I'm putting them on different SCSI IDs, and I'm not super versed in the SCSI world, but you can have up to 7, I think, in a single chain. And then you can have additional mappings on there. But it's basically you have like, what is it, 7 SCSI IDs to work with off the bat. That's what you can do and use. So be almost done here. Then we'll pop this back in. We don't need to read it or write anything to it once we get the drive back into the regular computer, and I can show you how the file structure looks, and then we'll see how that's reflected on the Amiga as we boot it up. We do have to initialize the drive and format it, but the nice part is, again, this is virtual, so even if we break it, we just redo this again. There's no real harm in it. That gives you a lot of flexibility, and it's faster as well on a spinning hard drive. So, all right. Okay, and we have the SD card. Now I can show you what the structure looks like. So, really small here. I should have zoomed in, I guess. We basically have 3 different hard drives. You see HC00, 10, and 20. These are LUN ID 0, 1, and 2. So those are going to be your hard drives in sequential order. And there's a BlueSCSI init file that has some settings set in for the Amiga to see it. You have to disable some advanced features because the Amiga just doesn't support it. There's a shared directory here as well, which will come in handy later. And it's actually a directory that you can copy files into the Amiga. And I'll show you how that works because it's a little messy. You can't just drag a file from this one. Remember, this is an image file. Our hard drive is in here, so how do you get files into the hard drive? You can use WinUAE, which is a Windows emulator, and copy files that way. Or you can do multiple other ways, but this is probably the easiest way to do it, at least in my experience. So now, we're going to switch back to the Amiga. I'm going to plop this SD card in. I'm going to power back on, and we'll see something interesting. Well, we're going to see virtually nothing here because we have no boot drive. Of course, it's going to be all wonky here in the capture. Sorry for that. Whenever it decides to get that far. But it's checking the hard drives now and starting to see, and the hard drives are empty, so there should be nothing on here. It would basically fail whenever it gets there. And I have the hard drive. Yeah, so here's basically the insert boot floppy image that you get on Amiga 2.0. I don't know that you can do directly in Linux Doppler effect. You could be right, but I don't think so because within the problem is that within the HDA file, in our case here, it's going to be an Amiga formatted drive, and there's really nothing else that can read that except WinUAE. What you can do is you can take these image files and mount them directly as a hard drive within the emulator, and then you can copy files using the WinUAE's ability to copy files from the PC and into the Amiga OS. I don't think that you can do it directly because, again, it's not a matter of opening the HDA file, it's the format it's created in. And maybe you can do it directly on Linux, but not to my knowledge. So, what do we do now? Well, we have our trusted GoTech. For those that have used that, that's a floppy emulator that's installed in a drive bay. I can use a memory stick here to basically load my floppies. What I'm doing now is I'm going to reboot it, but I have it set to go into the flash floppy control menu, which is where you select your floppy image to load. And a GoTech is just too darn useful to have on a Amiga or any retro computer of this era with floppies, because instead of running back and forth with floppies, you can just use this. So, and I actually see the rainbow, the flickering here going on, and I have a so yeah, this flash floppy is basically, you could install a GoTech into your Amiga 500 or equivalent machine like this and just play this. We can just play a game now straight up because we don't need an OS. We can just use this. It's the same as booting things off floppy. And by default, the Amiga 2000 did not come with a hard drive. You have to add that, right? So I have tested and messed with a whole bunch of stuff. And this is also one way to get files onto the computer later, because you can create an ADF file, which is an Amiga disk file, and copy files through that for utility, create the ADF, drag it to the floppy, to the USB stick, and now you can mount it on the computer. It's really handy to have that, but the one we're looking for is this, which is the GVP Impact Series 2 DMS, which is the drivers for our SCSI controller that we need. There are generic drivers included. Unfortunately, it does not like or detect the BlueSCSI very well. So I messed with that a lot, and it wasn't running very stable until I found a specific floppy for the controller, which is already here. So what we're going to do now is save and reboot, and what that will do is mount that floppy as the boot drive, and then reboot it. So, and now we need to get in there to basically format and prep our hard drives, because right now they're just blank hard drives. There's nothing to boot on there. So we need to prep them, get them ready, and then we can install. See, we're already booting now from this floppy, which is, well, a fast prep disk, so it's a, you know, something you would have gotten with on an actual floppy when you bought your SCSI controller. But yeah, it's really bothering me how unclean this capture is, so we'll just have to suffer through it this time. But there, as I said, there's a great RGB to, and the Amiga outputs RGB analog by default. There's an RGB to HDMI mod that I'm planning to do. Yeah, I think so. The thing is, and I haven't tried Adopter, so I can't say for sure, but I think the problem is not so much mounting it, it's just reading it, because you're basically getting a file format that doesn't exist in Linux or anything else. That's why I think people use WinUAE. So even though if you can open it, I don't think you can do anything with it, but I could be wrong. Maybe that's an option to try as well. I know what people do mostly is that they spin up the WinUAE emulator, and they prep their whole hard drive and everything on there, and you take that hard file and just plop it in your BlueSCSI or whatever, and then you can read that directly. They're transferable back and forth. So you could install all the software directly on your computer and then go to your hardware. The Amiga, in the retro term, is a very mature platform for what people are using it for, which is awesome. So now let's see. I gotta remember which one to do first here. I think we have to prep and format the drives first. I've done this one time, so we're doing it the second time now. So we'll do it live. There we go. I want to do a manual installation. Oh, I think I know what to do. I need to exit this first. And then we need to, whoops, I wasn't going to load it. Dang it. So basically the way the Amiga works is that it calls out to the individual controller cards. And the default one is SCSI.device, but we don't have a SCSI.device. We have a GVP, and I got to remember now what the freaking command is. It's device. Oh, that's right. We need to do this. New device equals. Figuring all this out took a long time, but we're basically saying now, when you start the software, look at this device bus, and that's the device GVP SCSI.device. Oops, I didn't spell that right, did I? CSI. There we go. And it should find it because the default, a different SCSI controller might be on the normal SCSI bus, but in this case here, we have it on the GVP one because it's a unique one for this controller card. So I think that should be it. We'll find out. Again, we're doing it live because it's been a while since I did this. It is, oh, auto booting. Let's see. I think we have to do something else too. I'm trying to remember now which one to run first. Been a while, so we can do the README first, but let's see. We'll add a new device. Device. Attempting to load. Try a few of these. I just don't remember which one it is because it's like again, we're doing it live. So it's finding it's checking the info. Drives. These are just the mounted ones that are part of the RAM drive here. When that was it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we need to do. That's set. This GVP SCSI.device. Did I forget it now? Can you read me first and see what it says? We'll check the... let's see. I think it tells you what it needs to be set to. Let's set the DMA disk. Performance. Partition. I need driver college number. It needs to... Not a lot of memory. I think we have run too many things now and it crashed, so we have to reboot. Yeah, a little bit. Especially, we're basically capturing it 336 by 252. So this is made for a CRT, right? Which is the problem. So now when you're looking at it, it's pretty iffy. We're gonna reboot again here, and it's gonna stay on that floppy. So you can set different resolutions, but in general, you would run this on a CRT, of course, and it helps blend out the font. So you can run it in interlace mode as well. But in most cases, at least when I was saw it as a kid, you were basically running this as on a standard, home consumer CRT or whatever. So let me check a couple of things. Because yeah, I went through all the pains of setting this up, and I've forgotten it. So I'm poking around in a couple of things. And maybe it had to reboot for first as well. I don't think so, but we'll see. Should have saved it. Yep, it did. This doesn't work. We'll poke around a little more and take a look. Because I may have to initialize it, which might be that boot 68. Oh, there you go. Just had to reboot. So now we have the multiple drives here. And we have to prepare the drives. So let's see. We have BlueSCSI hard drive, 2.0, high cylinder. This is disk 0, 1, and 2. Yeah, 3 is nothing, you can tell. So those are the 3 hard drive files we created. So SCSI 0, 1, and 0, 1, and 2. So we're going to DOS formatted. Okay. All partitions have been created. It's our max size. Not go that high. And we'll just oops. Maybe let's do automatic and see. It lets us, because you can do all the manual stuff, and I had to mess with that when I was partitioning it, but in this case here, we just really want the maximum size on each partition, so maybe I'll just let it do the automatic. Yeah, there we go. So, go. Okay, there we go. Perfect. DH 0, that's great. Full drive capacity. Proceed. So now we're preparing and propping the, it's creating and mounting the drive and everything for us. So this is basically the equivalent to disk part, and then you do the format on the Windows side, or DOS side, I should say. I don't know. For me, it's been... no, we're not going to do that, because I want to boot from floppy, so... Abort. DOS format not complete. So we're going to go to the next one. Disk ID, so we're going to have one partition. And we're going to have... and call it DH1, just because this it could be DH1, 0, 1, and 2, but I'm going to keep it this way. Even though you can, the partitions can be named anything you want, but I want to keep them separate so I know what the heck they are. Otherwise, they will actually show on the desktop as DH000. And you can call them anything you want. It could be disk 1, rubber ducky, whatever. But keeping the name short is nice. There we go. And there we go. We're going to do one partition on this guy. And we're going to call this DH2. and prep format. And we could, what it says there is that it can copy the installation files, and you could plop in the AmigaOS install disk at that point. We're not going to do it, but it basically would be creating a format/s to create the boot partition, and then you can install Amiga from there, AmigaOS, but we're not going to do that. I'm just going to do it manually. So there we go. We're now formatted and complete. So we should have 3 hard drives all ready to go. We'll see if we can see that in the GDP info. Yeah, there you go. They got 3 hard drives there, all ready to roll, and they're basically empty. So there's your DH0, DH1, and DH2. And we can open these now. They're just blank. There's nothing here. So we have a gig free, a gig free, a gig free. And you can read more, I think up to 2 gig in Amiga. I just ran into some issues while I was messing with it, and I might redo it again. Again, the nice part is that you can just copy these files off the SD card and then just recreate it again. So what we need to do now is we need to boot from basically the OS install disk. So what I'm going to do now, go to 0 here, which is the selection tool here for FF Manager, which is the flash floppy manager, which is the same thing we booted to earlier. You'll see it pop up here now. And we're now going to mount the different install disks for Amiga. So I know they're at the bottom here. So there's the boot floppy. We're going to mount that to 0.1. And then install to 2. Extras to 3. Ons to 4. And locale to 5. So what we have now is that the Gotek can have up to 99 slots, basically. But it's a click-based. You have to hop around with just like a button. So it's kind of a pain. And there's rotaries you can get that will spin through the disks quicker. Because if I create this list, this is basically the list of which floppy should I mount. And if you do this and have like 150 of them, you have to click through each one of them. So not much you need for there. So welcome back, Ian. Hello. You sure saw Nuclear War on there, and it's a great game. Maybe we'll get to play it tonight. We'll see if we get that far, but it should be able to. We just have a lot more cleanup to do once AmigaOS is installed. So, and Ian, I think you're probably more Amiga versed than I am. I'm fumbling my way through this. Right now, we have formatted 3 hard drives on BlueSCSI. That's going to be our DH1 or 0, 1, and 2. And from there, we're going to install AmigaOS 2.1. And then we're going to prep everything on the machine for WHC load and all this stuff. And then we're back to where I want to be because I had a corrupted hard drive. So we have selected this. So we're going to save and reboot. It should go to disk 1. I think. Find out. Which should be the boot floppy for AmigaOS. Yeah, Nuclear War is great. Welcome, Kane. Reading. We'll find out. Sadly, I don't have a buzzer on this, so you don't hear the, the sound from the hard drive, or the disks, or the floppies, or the hard drive. And I do have a real floppy drive in here as well, which I cleaned up, which does work. But now we basically have disk parted and formatted our drives, the equivalent from DOS. And now we have to... I'm swapping drives here now. For some reason, I don't know if this particular installation is... I don't know why, but this particular installation goes to like Danish, I think by default. So who knows where it came from. We just have to get in and change the language. But the AmigaOS installer, and I do have the box for that, actually came on, let's see, was, 4 or 5 floppies, yeah. Let's see, we are going to, oh, that's right, I need to actually, that's the boot one. We need to actually go to the install floppy. There we go, install 2.1. I'm a little curious, I don't see the drives right now, so we'll see if I missed something. So we are going to install 2.1. Danska, but we're going to go with English just for this time. Again, I apologize for the capture, it was the best I could do on short notice. I'm going to mess with that later. But right now, that's just what we're dealing with. It's capturing directly RGB, and the Amiga just is not outputting a very clean signal from my capture card. So we'll see. I don't see the drives now. I think I should be able to see the hard drive. So I might have missed a step as part of the UVP install there. So we'll see. Now, the kicker with this is that it's emulating Please boot from the Amiga install disk. Oh, I did the wrong one. I should boot from the install disk. So let's read that. I did the wrong disk, because that's the one you have to do from. I would think so, yeah. So we'll see what happens if I miss something. We'll go back into GVP at that point and mess with it. So yeah, I messed around with the capture for a bit, and I realized that I would spend hours messing with it. I couldn't get a clean capture the way I wanted to. I'm capturing directly in 336 by 252, and it just, the native Amiga signal is not kind to this kind of setup, unfortunately, because it's 15 kilohertz and there's a whole bunch of mess. So I decided to just YOLO it and just go with it. That was my own. There we go. There's the drives. I just decided to go with it and just deal with it. So I'm going to rename these. I don't want to have that terrible name there. There we go. Because you have to type that when you switch to them, and I won't do that. What I'm probably going to do is get, again, Pico Drive RGB to HDMI to do this, because I don't think, at least the RGB output on this particular Amiga 2000 is not playing nice with, and I can switch to interlace mode, and that gives us a little more space. It is scaling to nearest for sure. I can do interpolation, and it is doing it from, let's see, let me double check. I have it set to area scaling. Yeah, because I can do, you know, it's not doing that. Take a look at something. I think that maybe... Again, I can scale it, but if I change the scaler, let me show you. For linear, that's not right. There, I can do this if we want to, but then, you know, I can do area scaling, cubic, Lancos. I can do a linear or a linear scaling, but it gets really blurry. So maybe it's easier to read this. Let me know if you prefer this versus the super sharp. At least this might be a little more legible. And that's the thing. I haven't messed with it enough, and I think I need to do some sort of thing that would upscale it or capture it at high resolution. I am capturing it at the native 336. Yeah, maybe it's easier to read on a bigger screen, so you get a little smoothened out. And we can switch it to interlace. This gives us more space as well. But for now, at least we'll go. And again, I'm going to get probably the RGB to HDMI out on this one, because then you get very clean capture directly from the RGB port internally. That's my long-term plan with this machine, and then I can just capture HDMI from it. It's a lot easier than mucking with the default native stuff. And it's a little frustrating, because I spent a lot of time trying to get that perfect crystal clear analog capture, but it's not playing nice with me. But I haven't recapped this Amiga either, so I don't know how good the signal out is. You know, there could be a number of issues with this particular machine. So yeah. All right. So now it actually is saying we have hard drives, so we're going to install. I'm going to do intermediate. I don't want to have all options automatic. I always find this option interesting on the Amiga. You can pretend to install it, which is like a fake install, but we're going to do a real install. We're going to proceed. This program will update your hard drive to Workbench 2.1. Your current Workbench files will be overwritten. You want to update installed in the... No. I'll pick a different drawer. Go drives. There we go. This is the one I want. And you would use this for upgrading as well. And you can tell here, I know that files need to be deleted because this is a fresh install. You can actually run this installer to update AmigaOS, but we're not going to do that. There's nothing there. At least this isn't Amiga Workbench. And again, we're emulating a real floppy here now, so it has the same speeds as the floppy bus has on an Amiga, so it's not fast. It's faster because you don't have to wait for the spinning floppy itself. But otherwise, you know, it's running at the speed you would expect, so... So what I'm hoping to be able to do after we do this is to take this this device or this and then copy the original drive that we had over here added as an additional SCSI device, so SCSI ID 3, in theory, it should show up as well after we boot, and then we can actually copy all the games and stuff off my old hard drive instead of having to copy it all from scratch. Because you need install files for WHD load, you need some libraries for PAL, you need some Kickstart images for running Kickstarter 1.3, and a whole bunch of stuff that takes prep work. If I can do that again manually, it's kind of a pain. So if I can copy it directly from the old hard drive, then that's even better. So we will see. But now I have more space on the machine, because before I had limited space, and I also corrupted my hard drive. But again, like I mentioned, if this blows up, we can just revert to the old one. There's nothing we have to do. So this is disk 3. The GoTech is really invaluable for an Amiga. Being able to mount floppies like this is so worth it. And I think you'll probably see in most cases, people that are seriously into an Amiga of some kind usually have a GoTech. It's just worth it. Interesting enough that when we get into games later, I'll show you, is that when I run just a near scaling, it looks fantastic. It's super crisp. So I don't know why it's the Workbench resolution that gives me so much pain. Now, this is an NTSC Amiga. And if you mess with Amigas, you may know that, or if you don't know, most of the stuff on Amiga was written for PAL, for the European region, because that's where it was popular. So all the demos you might have seen on the Amiga, they're usually PAL. So running out of an NTSC runs faster because it's from 50 to 60 hertz. So they're near unplayable, and they break because it's running too fast. So fortunately, with the Amiga 2000, as long as you install the PAL drivers, basically, you're allowed to switch to PAL on the system. And at that point now, you have a PAL Amiga, and you can run all the PAL stuff naturally. You can't do that on a 500, I think, so... this is a little funny, because I haven't installed the image writer printer drivers, because I do have an image writer I haven't used. So. And you're right, the output from this is not something that the capture cards like. It's pretty much a miracle that this data path can see this to begin with, because the RGB out from Amiga is not nice or clean. And it actually, I was trying to use, this is a GBS control, you're probably well aware of this one, which does see it, but I'm having problems with this particular device. I think a GBS control can do the upscaling just fine. You can probably do it with the RetroTink and everything like that. So in this case here, I just kind of winged it. I was trying not to be a perfectionist and just roll with it. So once we get the machine fully installed, we can switch to interlace mode, which gives us more screen real estate and looks a little sharper. It's just these native resolutions on the Workbench that don't seem to be very nice. So, and you can install additional languages. We're just doing English, Amiga Locale. And it saves a lot of time instead of doing floppies. The nice part with this is that it's pretty cool, since I have a GoTech and a real floppy drive in this one, and both are found. You can actually I can mount this in the GoTech, a floppy image, and I can write that to a real floppy that way. So it's a really convenient way to do that. So you got Font 4, I think? Yeah, it was. I don't remember what I named them, but... Getting Justy. Very nice. That's definitely earlier than I was messing with computers. I mentioned earlier, but my first computer experience was a Commodore 128 that my brother managed to convince my dad that we should buy for housework, business, home use, but it ended up being him playing games on it. So he let me play a few games on it, but then we got rid of it eventually. And basically, my neighbor down had an Amiga 500, and that was most of my exposure to early computing. So, very nice. You went through the whole kit and caboodle then. A4000 as well. That's pretty... might I ask, were you using it for business purposes, or just you wanted the most powerful Amiga? By the time the 4000 came around, I think the 4000s were mostly used, right, and correct me, for like, business purposes, so... You can install floppy. There you go. Nice. Oh, nice. Oh yeah, then I believe it. That was a no-brainer at that point. It's sad to see what happened with Amiga, and they didn't really come with the times. Unfortunately, they didn't keep up. There's an endless amount of documentaries and everything. on, you know, how far Amiga would have gone or Commodore would have gone if they wouldn't have gone under. So, nope, I don't have that. So, proceed. Installation complete. Remove install floppy. Can reboot. Reboot. So, do this. I'll have to unmount the floppies. I think that actually what I need to do is turn it off and turn it on because that will reset the flash floppy. So 1 second. Now, it should unmount the floppies completely, like eject action, and it should use the first boot drive, which is our DH0, and it should go into Workbench. Fingers crossed. Because if this works, then we'll switch to trying to basically mount the old hard drive as well in parallel so that we can... there we go. Here's our Workbench screen. So now, here's our DH0. We can see the icon for that there. And now we have our Amiga set up. So these are empty hard drives. I have a gig free on each, and we can drop any number of files and everything. And the Amiga works on a drawer system and icons. You can see it. It's like you can drag files everywhere or whatever. The system itself, by default, doesn't have a ton going for it, but we're going to install more things that we need for it to work. WHD load above all, so we can load games. So now we basically have our clean install Amiga. We don't really have anything on it besides the OS and a couple of drives. So I'm going to try now to see if I can copy the old hard drive over and mount it as drive 3, because if it does, then you can just see it and we can drag and drop anything we need. So I'm going to turn this off. I have my SD card. Here, we'll go to the big camera so you don't have to look at the little screen. So yeah, I have my SD card here now with my hard drives. Pop that into my laptop. Since we know that the SD card reader on my actual computer doesn't work, so computer slept again. It's tired. Okay, so now what I'm doing is simple now, is that I am renaming that hard drive file we had before to HT30, which would be then I keep saying SCSI ID 3 on the chain, and in theory the machine should see it. So, and I don't know about you guys when you're messing with retro stuff, but I've been loving doing this. It's been fun for me to learn about this, and then we're kind of at the junction point now where there's a lot of modern tools to use that we've seen tonight already. That makes it a lot easier. And there's so many options that you can mess with and do. So it's been a delight to learn about it, and also expand my knowledge about the Amiga. And all I want at the end of the day is a turnkey Amiga I can go turn on and play a game when I want to, not without having to mess with a whole bunch of stuff. So and that's my goal with most of my machines. I'm trying to get better about having a complete machine and not touching it again, so that it is ready to go when I want to play something or do something. So okay, now we have HT3. Pop that SD card out. Sorry, we'll see. I think it should always use the lowest drive and then the boot. Because if you think about it, we copied the other hard drive now, which also had boot partition on, more or less. It should use the lowest one, I think. And even if it doesn't, we can just copy the files. So, E. Yep, there we go. Mean blank sig, welcome. So there is, yep. So here is, we have two DH1s now. So which one is which? So this one is our old drive. We see this is the other LUN now. So we have DH, let's see. Well, the other one was DH0 as well. So I'm not sure which one it booted off now, honestly. But we're going to copy. Yeah, so this is actually the... It actually copied the files. So it booted up the DH0, if that makes sense. Original partition that I had. So we'll have to do some finicking here to copy stuff over. We can copy the files we need and then remove the LUN again. So it is what it is. I keep saying LUN, but drive. Either way, this is now our old DH1. So we're going to copy some stuff over here, and, you know, we can spend a lot of time copying all the games, so it's going to take a long time to do that. We're going to get a select few so we can get going. But I do need to copy some of the libraries and stuff like that that are in use. So we can copy apps over here, for example, if it lets us. Hopefully it's not corrupted. It's copying to itself now, right? Which will take a while. This is not fast, because you're using the SCSI bus to do this, right? Which is speedy in itself, but the read and write speed of the SCSI bus itself is not super fast in this case for the BlueSCSI. The end result speed, as you can see there, we're pulling, you know, a couple 100K a second. And I know there's probably better ways to do that and make it faster, but I haven't found a way yet. Because, you know, at the end of the day, it works, and it's still much more convenient than running around with floppies. So I'm not going to copy all the games. We'll copy through select ones. I know what I was worried about. The problem with that drive, and I wonder if we can boot in to see if we can fix it. Because, yeah, now we're having an issue with copying stuff off it. May need to try and fix it, but if nothing else, I have a backup of it, so. Evening, Johnny Gong. So they also have been trying, like, what we're doing right now is we have a fresh install. We're trying to mess with it. But the issue I found is that for some reason, and again, here's someone with better Amiga knowledge than me to educate me, because I know you can save the positions. For some reason, every time I do that, it does not save the positions of the folders. I reboot, and the folders are set to a jumble. At least in some of them. This particular one you see down there, that stays, but like in the games directory, they all just flop everywhere. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but I'll say I said Amiga a few times. Say it a few more times. So we'll see how this goes, because unfortunately there's a read error on the edge one there. So we did copy some apps here over now. Oh, that's right. I shouldn't have copied that folder. That's the kicker. Hopefully that one didn't break, because what happened is that the sysinfo folder is the one that was corrupted. So I can delete. Yeah. All right, we'll have to deal with that a separate wave. So let's see, empty track. Long story short, what happened was that I copied a subfolder by incorrectly into that same subfolder, which was like half. It got messed up. It got very messed up. So anyway, so we're gonna see if we can copy some other stuff over here. Few other things. We do have to install WHD load. I do think I have the installer in here too. But yeah, that directory is the one I messed up, the one with the sysinfo. So again, I'm an Amiga novice, so we're just kind of winging it. I said Amiga again. What I'm after above all are the libraries and stuff like that we need for to make some of the stuff work, like a WHD load, things like that. So I think that has an installer. We can do that. But if I can get those files over without having to manual copy with floppies, and I'll show you a really cool little trick with the BlueSCSI device. You can actually use it. Again, remember that the Amiga, has hard drive images, right? That's the hard drive itself. That's not readable in a Windows machine without an emulator. With the BlueSCSI tool, there's a command line. You can actually use it for transferring files from a shared folder that's on the SD card. Excuse me. So if you run a command, you can actually retrieve files. So that's actually a way to transfer files. Take the SD card out, drop files on it, run a command line, you can copy it directly to your machine. So that's really handy. But yeah, takes a little while. Again, it's not fast. You know, we're copying some files, so you can see the megabytes increasing there. Was the movie Blown Away with Kiefer Sutherland and not Kiefer, it was Jeff Bridges and Tommy Lee Jones, and Tommy Lee Jones, and there's one section in the beginning, they're like a bomb cat and mouse kind of game or a movie, and what is it he does? in the beginning, there's a bomb time to a computer, and when she's typing, and when it goes to 0 bytes, it will explode, and they keep saying, like, how many bytes are left? And she keeps typing in a Word document, and the bytes are counting down. So, yeah, I'm not going to copy the whole hard drive here. I'm just grabbing some of the basic stuff. Some of the tools, things like that. We'll copy a couple of games. But what I did last time I did the swap, I just, let it sit for a few hours in copy files, because it's faster other ways, but this is pretty convenient because you're able to copy, you're done. Because you're basically copying and reading and writing over the same SCSI bus back and forth, and while the BlueSCSI works, you have to disable some of the advanced features to make this work. I know. Errors. Yeah, I wish I could have fixed that drive, and I like all these things. Atari ST is a great platform too. I'm learning about that one as well as we're going. I have a soft spot for the Amiga just from my, usage of it as a kid. But, cool. Cool. Going to show all file. That's the one I need there. Toolbox. Pretty small file. Oh, I need to do this too. So I'm all still learning about the Amiga. It's still all pretty foreign to me, really. Let's see. These, they're the extracting files. I think I need this stuff. Nope. So short of copying games, what I like to do now is copy some of the stuff I need. Let me think through here, because there's going to be stuff in deeper directories. So show all files. We're going to drop them on the DH2 drive for now. Let's see. Yes, let's go to C drive. Again, this is me being... I have to copy everything over here. Yeah, there's WHD load. I definitely need those. I might just copy the whole C here. What I'm grabbing now is some of the system files and everything, and I'm not going to need this. What I'm just doing is I'm grabbing that so I can have it available when I boot it without this setup here. So I think we need to go into copy. Well, go. Yeah, I like the Atari ST as well. It's very, I enjoy experiencing, things and platforms I haven't messed with before. It's fun to me anyway. Let's see. I don't think there's anything in expansion. Devs. There's the kick stuff. I need that. We're gonna grab devs. Trying to remember to grab all the stuff I need, but we'll see. We'll have to go back and forth. So, you need Bilka Retro stuff, welcome. Right now, kind of just grabbing and prepping stuff from our, I think, thing in here. WHD load up. There we go. So we need the S as well. That's not the final resting place for the stuff. We need that. Just checking through stuff. Locale, I don't think so. Tools, we're not using. Utilities, that's random stuff. Anything in W startup? Go all files. There's nothing there. I was trying to grab what I need now, so I don't have to come back for it, but I think we need here as well, because yeah, we need the PAL one. So we're gonna grab the that was under storage, right? Yep. We're gonna grab the storage directory as well. Drawer, sorry. And yeah, I didn't mess with Atari ST at all. I hadn't planned on it. I messed with the Mister a little bit. But then locally, someone was selling an Atari Mega SD2. I'm like, cool. So I bought that and started learning about it. And I like to kind of fix that one up a little bit too. It runs, but there's some stuff to do to it. Hoping to get it all cleaned up. All right, so now we need to turn this off, and I have to remove that DH3 again, and then boot it normally, and then we should be back to our new installation. I can copy the files I need over. Well, probably grab a game or two as well, otherwise we have nothing on here. Not that one. Yeah, this is what happens. It doesn't retain the position, which is a little weird. I have to do cleanup every time, so... because if I copy this whole directory, it takes hours, so we're not going to do that. That would just take way too long. I can show you how we transfer files normally. This is DH1 I want to... Here's the other one. Create a new drawer. Games. In here, but just I've copied a lot of games on here. Question is how long that's gonna... That's all right. We will pick this off a little bit. It's gonna take a while, but we'll just chat about Amiga while we're waiting, because I want to grab a few games on here. And eventually what I'll do is, when we're not doing a stream, because I don't want to spend the next 2.5 hours copying files, is that I'll basically take these drawers and just drag and drop, right, and then walk away. And yes, it will take a long time to copy them, but at the same time, it's convenient because you don't have to do anything. So, and it is what it is. You get down to this. I spent days and weeks just grabbing games I wanted, and WHD Load is a modified version of games that lets you run them from hard drive. Many of these games by default did not have a hard drive installer, and you can't just drag the files from the floppy onto the hard drive. You need to have a special wrapper program, which is WHD Load, which is still maintained today, and new games are added. But it basically takes a floppy image of a game and massages it to run from hard drive. So you can get images that have basically the entirety of, all of the games ever. And that gets a little bonkers after a while, so we're not going to do that. And if stuff fails, whatever, we can do this manual as well. I want to show the process I did for copying some of these games manually, and I'll show you how that worked eventually here. But right now we're copying quite a few megabytes of files here. As you saw, I had 9, well, maybe you didn't see it, but, several hundred megabytes of games on here, which if we did that tonight, we would just be sitting here watching this go on forever. So, yeah, Amiga did exist. I mean, a little bit. I know that there's definitely Amiga following here, and this is an NTSC big box Amiga, and my Amiga 500 is NTSC as well, but at least growing up in Europe, they were dominating there. I mean, even in my small block where I grew up, there was dozens of houses that had Amigas, like it was the older brother had an Amiga, or Commodore 64 or whatever. But they weren't pushed that hard in the US, I think, in the same way. And if you look at the game selection and things that are adapted for the US market, it's much smaller than you saw on the European side. They really... And I have a feeling it came somewhat from flickering too. It came from just the kind of the BBC literacy project. I know they did that in the 80s. There was a large push to get the whole populace like computer literate, and I feel like a lot of people got used to having computers and everything. I guess we'll have to copy that one. Gonna get nuclear war. And yeah, I'll have to grab a few other games there eventually. I do wish I could have this drive mounted all the time with my new one, but that is what it is. We'll have to do this. Grab a few games. I'm sure I'll remember other games that I want to copy, but I'm not going to sit here and do it all night. So, Yeah, and Radio Shack probably didn't have any interest in it, right? Because they have their own Tandy line, so they were probably still pushing that at the time the Amiga came out. Because the Amiga 1000 was in 1985, the 500 come a little bit later, or came a little bit later, um, and I don't think they had a big market push here in the U.S. And the competition was pretty fierce because Radio Shack had their own brand they wanted to promote, right? And the Apple II was in schools, and that was hugely popular. A hard market to break into. And at least from my knowledge, and again, I could be wrong, the biggest success for them was probably in the video toaster area and getting into TV stations, weather broadcasts, that kind of stuff, game shows. Quite a bit of like game shows you might have watched in the 80s and 90s, or probably early 90s. They ran on, um, they ran on Amiga 2000s with video toasters in them. So yeah, and then you're right. You're both all right. When it got into the mid 90s or early 90s, the PC was a much more affordable option and way more powerful. Because, I mean, by then, like you look at 92, 93, 94, the Amiga was not keeping up anymore. The IBM had come through and just started compatible and just, it was modular. There were third party manufacturers of components. They were dirt cheap in some cases just to get a computer, and people started getting computers at home. And that was the PC took over. And I actually have it set up behind me here where I have an Atari ST, the Amiga 2000, and a standard 4666 megahertz, and that's the one we streamed with the last couple of times. And it's just crazy how the jump is from the Amiga to the 46. Soundmaster compatible, a 1 megabyte video card, DOS. The capabilities of that machine are insane for not using, your custom chips that are in the Amiga and everything, which was very cool in the mid to late 80s, but it just wasn't keeping up. So, yeah, I believe it's they're still being used. So that's what I'm curious. Like, what was the Amiga 4000 made for? For those unfamiliar, that was really the last like powerful Amiga, probably the one, the desirable one now because it's the most powerful one. But what was it bought for? Was it just for video production? Was it used for any like page design stuff? Because I can't imagine people bought the 4000 a lot for home. It sounds like you bought it because you got it at a discount, but by then, probably most people were going into PC, I imagine. So, um, yeah, and I think a lot of us, me included, grew up kind of cutting our computer teeth on a standard beige 46 of the era because that gave you the most bang for your buck and everything. So, we'll copy just a few more games here. I'm not going to bore everyone with this because I like to do all of this eventually, but I'm not going to sit here and do every single one. So there's a lot of games on here. So, but we did grab Nuclear War, Cannon Fodder. And there's a lot more I'm sure I'll remember later. So yeah, exactly. And that's the thing too. It's like, yeah, the early 46s are not, you look back at it with inflation, $2,000, adjusted. It's a lot of money. But that's what it cost early computers. You think about it now, you're pretty spoiled in the sense you can buy off the shelf computer that will get you computing, or your smartphone can do all that stuff too. But computers were not cheap back then, especially the early ones. So let me real quick if there's anything in particular you wanna. So many games on here. Wish I could have this mounted all the time, but it did not play nice because it's DH0. Short of deleting that partition, I wonder if we could do that. Let's try it. Why not? We're going to do it live. We'll see what happens here now. I'm wondering if we can go into the GVP-SCSI manager and delete that partition. Or I'll blow everything up and start from scratch. We'll see. Because I would like to have that DH1 partition mounted all the time so that we can copy the games as we want them instead of having to do what I just did here. So I'm going to mount this again. Then I'm going to remove the rest of the floppies. And I'm going to save and reboot. And we'll see what happens. It's going to reboot now to the GVP floppy again. So Yeah, it's funny with the early upgrades. So the first real computer we had in the house, or the one that we bought from me, was a 46 compact per area all-in-one, the one everyone wants now. It was a 4633 with like 4 megabytes of memory from the factory. And, you know, I didn't know how to use DOS at all. So I had gotten Doom 2 and Transport Tycoon and neither would run because it didn't have memory. And I didn't know how to do, you know, modification of anything of config sys or autoexec bat. So my parents took pity on me and we paid a lot of money to upgrade to 8 megabytes right away. And then everything worked. So, you know, whatever I was doing back then, that was enough to make it all clean and work. So let's see if we can mess with this now. See if it plays nice, because I don't want to break what we already have. So we're going to do manual installation. Did we have to like, oh, we have to reboot it with it configured, right? So information has the, yep, it's set. So I think we have to reboot it like this. Like it's not loading into memory. So we'll try it, and if not, we'll do what I had already planned, and I'll copy games later. That will get us going quicker. But it would be nice to have the other drive mounted. But that now we run into the thing that I didn't want to have again, right? Is that the same disk as the boot partition and the games and software, and that's where I ran into the issue. And if I just had it, I can just mount the data partition and be done, or the data drive. That's what I'm trying to happen here. We'll see if I can delete that original partition on disk 3 if it lets me, or just format it, because then they won't have a boot partition. And again, the nice part is I backed that up already, so if I need to use it again, it is probably the one from the show. That is too much money. It's just way too much money. Yeah. And the cool thing with the 46 in that era too, right? You can keep upgrading, but also, you know, from 1990 to 2000, the amount of performance and increase that happened is almost absurd. You went from, you know, 386s and 286s to Pentium 3 machines that were running 3D accelerated graphics. It was a huge leap in 10 years there. I don't know, we've seen that kind of leap in technology, or at least in PC world or computer world, ever before. It was just insane. And it's hard to keep up too, and like how often things got obsolete because, like, you know, a new Pentium came out, and a 2 came out, and a 3 came out, and new accelerators that are twice as fast. And it was an exciting time, but insane time too. Like things were obsolete within months sometimes. Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, I think that, you know, there was something new coming out. You're not wrong, Johnny. It was just like, yeah, there we go. Now it's finding all the drives, so that's what we wanted. So see if we can do this. Holy buckets, that's a jump. It was expensive. And, you know, yeah, that's true. Where's my thing? Yo? Where's my fast prep? It disappeared. Guess we're not doing this then. Huh. Neat. Now, what gives here? Why can't it? Huh. Well, that's cool, I guess. Guess I didn't like the, oh, it's crashed? No, it's trying. There we go. Manual installation. Okay. So let's see. I want to go to disk 3. I know it has. I know. Disk 3. Give it 2 lunts here. There we go. Let's see. Can I do... I can delete the... No, I don't want to reformat it, but I just want to see if I can delete this partition. It lets me. Or will. I'm going really off the path here now. Well, unprep it, I think we'll delete the whole drive. I just format the... No, I don't want to partition all the drive. I wonder if I can set boot priority. So we'll see if this works. I'm really just kind of winging it right now. So, what I did there was I set the boot priority to -10. So now in theory, the boot priority should be 1 on the normal DH0, and now it boots it. It should... We'll find out. I have no idea. Hard reset to eject the floppy. And then we'll see if it boots now. If it doesn't, then I guess we'll figure something out. I broke it. But then we'll just take that other... take the third disk out. So GVP is... So it has a GVP SCSI device. The SCSI card in this is a GVP. So that is it. So the GVP is just a brand name for the SCSI device. So, okay, we got some kickstart here, so that's good. We booted something. Yes, I believe we see both now. Yeah, that's great. So now I see both DH0. So it took the boot priority out. So this is our new one, and this is the old one. So now we're booted from the new one. That's exactly what I wanted. So I guess we're good. Cool. Sweet. First try. So now we have the DH1, the old one mounted, so now we can copy files as we need it. But first off, we need to copy some system drives. But now I can actually access the original boot partition here. So, which this is the original one we messed with earlier. Now I can copy the files I need over here. So, let's see. Go all files. Go... So what I did there was that, again, I set the boot priority to -10, so that means that the old boot partition is now not booting from it, so it just mounts it like a normal drive, instead of being the first one to boot. So, again, I apologize for the blurriness of the capture and everything. I'll get that fixed at one point, but right now, that's what we're working with tonight, so I didn't want to be perfectionist. So, no, I do not have the Samantha Fox demo, but I think we'll probably have to do that at some point, so... let's see. What do we need first? We need C directory. We'll just check each one because I can't remember. Thinking about it. It's not fast, but... see, what I'm trying to do now is just, copy and check each one. I have a mouse click rhythm. Yeah, I'm not even using the real tank mouse. I'm using another Amiga mouse. I have a tank mouse as well, but it's for another computer, so... That's our AS file. Let's see. We need the... WHD load is in here. Flip CPU, date... WHD load, you need the drivers, basically, to be able to use WHD load in the first place, so... Well, note, these are all built-in ones. We don't need those. List, load WB. Agitate here. Matcher. I know what it has. Just ignore it. There we go. I was waiting for that. Okay, so that should go a little faster now. Yeah, there we go. I need these WC load files. One, fine. Both. Okay, that's C. C. Then system. I don't think there's anything in here. No, this is just a standard. So we're going to go to devs next. There we go. And once we get into games, it's going to look a lot better. It's just weird that it does this here in... We need the kick files here. Start. Sorry. Nope. that Kickstart. Kickstart allows you to automatically mount a lower kickstart, because some games, basically for compatibility, needs like kickstart 1.3, and as for those that were here in the beginning, this is kickstart 2.0 something, and some games use an older kickstart for compatibility, and if you don't have those kickstarts in your directories, it can't launch them. So it's like compatibility mode in Windows, calling back to an older, that's devs, calling back to an older version. So, okay, let's see, where were we next? We don't need anything in fonts. Let's check storage. That's where we were, right? Bus drivers, I don't think we need anything here. We do need monitors, so go have all files on. Storage. A new one. Anything else in here, but we need the monitor stuff. Monitor basically is what monitors are supported, and in this case we need the PAL that we don't have in here, and that's as simple as, I want PAL to work on this machine. You just have to install it. It looks like it's already installed, so it should be good there. Double check, because I wonder there was more. All files. So. Did I open the right one? I want to make sure I'm in the right directory now too. So this is storage here. Monitors. Oh, Eric, welcome. We're fumbling our way through Amiga here now at a very poor resolution still. Now those DOS drivers. Monitors. That was installed, okay. Wonder what something else would do with that, but whatever. Check DOS drivers. All the same. Pretty rad. Okay. That's all the storage. And again, if it doesn't work, we will take another look. So let's see. I don't think there's anything in expansion. Go files? Nope. We do need a libs here. I know that. There should be some libraries in here that we need. Basically DLL files in this case here. We're going to copy some. Yeah, we have some libraries here for the 68030. MMU. The mu. That. This is all built in, standard stuff. Sorry, I'm just kind of flying through it here, and I just want to get to an operational machine. And I'm just copying basically DLL files that we would need from the old installation. That's all I'm doing. So libs looks good there. Locale, I don't think there's anything in here. We can always copy more stuff if we need it too, so it's not like it's gone forever. But S, I'm pretty sure, yeah, there's definitely WG load stuff in here. Yeah, I really have to order that thing that gives me RGB to HDMI, because I'm not happy with the terrible capture here. Even though I'm capturing it directly into data path, it's just not very clean. Let's see, we should have some WHD load. Yep, there we go. All that. Starts up WHD load. And a preference file, we need that. Default file. And I think that should be it from all the OS drive. I don't think there's anything in the... Guess we'll grab this too. I don't know if this is needed, but why not? Trying to make a copy of everything we had on the default drive here. There we go. So we're going to reboot now, and then we're going to try and launch a game and see if it works. Because if it works, then we know that we have the correct stuff installed. And then if everything is clean, we can copy some more games, but then eventually I'd like to unmount that drive because it's giving us some grief still. But I do want to go to... which one is its preferences? To see if we can switch it to... PAL. Yeah, it's not showing up here. That's the thing. Maybe we just need to reboot it. Should show up. I may have missed something otherwise. We'll do a soft reboot here. I do need to be able to operate the PAL mode, but I must have missed a file somewhere in that case. So I was a little confused about the fact that there was already a PAL file in that directory, because I could have sworn I copied it manually. As we saw there, it only had NTSC modes, and we need to switch the computer to PAL mode. It needs that library to do that. Otherwise, when you launch one of these games, it's going to error out because it wants to be able to use the PAL mode. And if that's not installed, it doesn't work. It were. So let's take a look at screen mode. PAL's not in there. So let's poke around the directories again. I think, unfortunately, what's happening now is it's trying to clean and fix the drive that's broken. And that takes a while it scans it. And that's why it's not going up right away there. So let's see. Where the heck would the PAL ones be? Too bad there's no search here. Show all files. Look around and see all the drawers and directories if we can find where the PAL is. Don't think here, but I'm going to check everything just to make sure. Patcher. Nope, this is WHD load. I don't think there's anything in W startup. Oop. Devs. Maybe one of these subfolders here. DOS driver. No, we already poked around in here. Monitors, I know we already have. Okay, so that's showing up there manually. So maybe to copy that. The old one or the new one? That's it. Devs. Monitors. Yeah, so that's what we needed. Now we can reboot, but I don't want to reboot before the scan is completed, which when we'll see that read error, and that's going to happen every time we reboot right now because it's trying to scan and fix DH1. And eventually I'll take that drive out, right? That's our long-term goal, is copy all the games and then take that drive out. Then the corruption is gone. We excised it, so that's crazy, Mike. You're having a yard sale and people are coming around. It's just it's unfortunate with that kind of stuff, and it's a bummer because you know, we're in this hobby because it's fun, but a lot of people are trying to make as much money as possible, and that kind of breaks the fun a little bit. So there we go. There's that, and then we'll reboot, and then we can switch to PAL mode because again, we need the PAL mode. Otherwise, most games are going to run in PAL, and fortunately, the monitor I have supports PAL as well. Because running an Amiga with NTSC mode is not a great way to play most of the games. There aren't that many, by comparison to the PAL games, there aren't that many NTSC games. There were tons of PAL games. So that's what most people do. They run, you know, PAL games. That's what they do and enjoy. So, okay, now we should be able to do this. Refs. Again, it's running slow now because it's doing the scan, so we'll wait for that to finish. Now we should have a PAL option in here. There we go. PAL high res. We're going to set that to use. And that is refresh right there. I'm going to actually set that to be saved so it sticks to PAL. I find it to be better for my purposes. So PAL high res. We can also go to interlaced. I'll show you what that looks like because interlaced is interesting. It's much higher resolution and sharper, of course, but then you get like, you know, this kind of thing going on. So we certainly can run this mode if we want here for visibility, but it is also flickering horribly on my screen right now. So the thing with this is 15 kilohertz, right? I'm not changing it to 30 kilohertz. So I'm using a NEC multisync flat panel that handles it. But yeah, we'll stick with I think with the normal PAL high res mode. So, and this is just a workbench. Once we get into games, it doesn't matter. Again, I will probably order that RGB to HDMI thing. Should we stick with interlaced? We can stick with interlaced while we're in while we're messing around here. So I guess you guys need to see it better. Yeah, the flickering is awful now, but you can see how much high resolution this is. And we have a My mouse. Where did it go? We'll just do this. It should be fine. The flickering is hilarious for me now because it's flickering like crazy, but it is a high resolution, right? So running at, interlaced. And fortunately, the capture one does a pretty good job de-interlacing. You don't really see the interlacing, but on my side now, on the flat panel, it's flickering like crazy. But all this is said and done now. In theory, this is the wrong one. We need the edge one here. We should now be able to run games with no problem. It should automatically launch into the PAL mode and just launch it from WHC load. So we'll see if I did everything right now. Just launch it. Let's find out. Yep, so it's initializing Kickstart 1.3. And launched Monkey Island. There we go. Now, it'll look a lot sharper. I don't know why it is the workbench display mode of this. That just is really bad, but here it looks way sharper. And now I'm doing nearest neighbor scaling, and I don't know why. In the game mode, it's same resolution, same refresh rate. And it's fine. I don't know. I'm not sure what to say. If it was looking like this inside of Workbench, and if anyone knows why, I don't know, because the resolution is 400 by 300 at 50 hertz. And when I set Workbench to that, it doesn't look nearly as sharp, so I don't know what the heck is going on there. It's exactly the same refresh rate and resolution, so... I do love the Amiga for the music. The sound chip in the Amiga is so good. Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like, here's a digital analog signal, or it's not digital, it's analog RGB, and I can capture it great. So I don't know what the heck's going on with Workbench. But if you're going to play games most of the time anyway. Yeah, he had a storage facility, but I don't think he had most of his systems there. It's a real bummer. He got hit by the hurricane, and he had 2 trees that fell on his living room, I think, where he films. And that made the roof be open, so water was pouring right into his basement and everything. So I don't know what the damage is yet, but he was hit pretty hard. He seems to be in good spirits. You know, he wasn't hurt. No one in his family was hurt. But the LGR collection may be in bad shape. Boxes, rare systems, etc. I'm in the basement, sorry. Yeah, I'm in the basement, but yeah. Normally, at least my Amiga's up on a table. Right now, it's on the floor, but... yeah, that's a kicker. Packaging, stuff like that, because I know LGR had a lot of boxes that were donated to, and that were rare. You can't... Mother Nature, what are you gonna do? But it still stings. I'm sure people will donate. We don't have a backup sump pump. We do have a sump pump. There's no generator on it or anything, but so far so good. Fortunately, the way we're sitting here, it takes a lot of water for it to even run the sump pump, so we've been good on that one. But yeah. Knock on wood. We get tornadoes here, but fortunately no torrential downpour or huge amount of rainfall that you would get potentially in other regions. So, but yeah, it looks great. The funny part is it looks awful on the LCD panel because it's stretching in and all that stuff. And that's not normally how I play it. I play it on, a CRT, on one of my Amiga CRTs. But in the case here, for just me being able to see what's going on, I'm doing it on a CRT or on a flat panel, and it's just awful. It's scaling it. It's like a generic business, multi-sync LCD 1970 that supports 15 kilohertz. But it's a way to play it. And again, I think it captures beautifully. So, yeah, we did do extra insurance for some of the valuables, and they understand it's collectibles, right? Like anything else. Does anyone remember the Mac stream here? What it sounded like? Because that's still etched into my brain. It was hilarious, but we're not going to play Monkey Island that long because we know it. But this is what I wanted to accomplish. We have our Amiga running now. and we got rid of the problem with the drive. So now we can play 2 games, and we can copy more games because we have the other one mounted, and then eventually I'll remove it from that, but we don't have to do that tonight. But since WHD load, you can just exit out like that, pretty slick like that. So do is it looks real nice on the capture, but yeah, it's just ugh, it's awful on here. So maybe we copy more games now that we can actually do that. So if anyone knows, for some reason, it doesn't seem, at least it didn't before, it didn't keep my position for these. Because I thought that was like a save snapshot. Would snapshot that window and keep things where they are. But it didn't seem to do that for me, so. We want the old one here. Like this. It just always jumbles them. I don't know why. Clean up, we'll do that. We'll copy another one, because why not? So this is what I'm going to do now. It's just not right now when I'm going to copy stuff over, but you know, the high-res interlace mode here gives us much more screen real estate to do this, of course, so it's useful. But it does not look great on this particular thing. But I don't think so. For the people that used Amigas back in the day, was the interlace mode supported? I haven't tried it on the typical Amiga monitor. So I have a 1084. I have a 1080 that's busted right now that I'm fixing up. But I'm not sure if it supported interlace mode directly on those, so. Mouse cursor. I have too many monitors going on right now, so. Okay, yeah. It's, unfortunately, I kind of broke my 1080. I have recapped it, and then I was messing with it, and unfortunately the ground wire came loose and fell on another component, and I was crackling, and then now the monitor is all over the place. Unfortunately, so I found the service manual finally, so I'm going to try and replace a few more parts. Listing out some things that look suspicious and see if that's the problem. Right now, when it starts, it doesn't seem like it can lock. It's just rolling image the whole time. I can see the image there, but it's rolling. So one of the horizontal or vertical synchronization circuits got busted, and that was my bad. So, but yeah, the fact that it made it all the way in to inland that's far is just crazy. One we need to copy is the new game that came out, which is pretty cool. We'll copy the R director. I have a few other cool games in here. This is what I want to do, is just be able to drag and drop the stuff over and just be done. So, I have the soundtrack stuck in my head for Monkey Island, but because all I want to do is have this machine as turnkey as possible, so then when I decide, like, you know what, I want to play Flashback on Amiga, I can just go sit down, turn it on, and play it. And that's all I want to do. I like the tinkering, but I found myself that I'll never actually enjoy the machines. That's why I prepped that 46. Just sat down, and I could just, you know, start up DOS games and enjoy that. So that's been really fun to be able to do that, and that's why prepping is for the same purpose. I'll grab another soda while I copy. I'll be right back. This is the usefulness of doing this, copying the stuff like this way. I do want to show actually a really neat trick, which is the BlueSCSI command line. So before I go to the next game, like I mentioned earlier, so these hard drive images, right, are just a file, HDA file on the SD card, and you can't copy directly from there. However, there's a BlueSCSI toolbox. I think I copied over here now. let's see. The problem is I have two DH1, and I'm not sure which one is going to switch to. But I can just show this. So let's go. Shell, yep. So we're gonna open shell. Well, this is a command line. You know, we're in that era now. So we have that, and actually the command line for Amiga is actually pretty advanced. It's got a lot of basic features that you don't get in DOS and stuff. So we're gonna go to DH1. Look here, and this is probably the wrong one. Yeah, so I have two DH1, so I'm not sure how it works, but I'll just show what happens here. So we're going to run the command BlueSCSI toolbox, which is a system or a command to call out to the BlueSCSI toolbar or the BlueSCSI itself. And on newer versions, this actually has a GUI. If you run this on AmigaOS 3.0 or newer, you get a GUI with this and can see the files. So long-term plan, there's a plan for me to get a decent accelerator for this machine. The person, again, I want to thank, he's not here right now, but Nate the Adventurer is a great streamer. He hooked me up with this machine because he got a whole bunch of Amigas that he's been doling out, and I think he's down to his last now. And it was... he gave me an accelerator, which is in here, but it's not working very well because it needs a daughter board memory on it, which I don't have. So he has another accelerator he's testing, and he's going to pass that on to me, which is awesome, because then this machine will be much faster processor-wise. Because right now, it's running still at about 7 megahertz because of that issue with the RAM card. But what we can do is we can actually make the call, and I actually asked the developer of this software the issue I ran, because I tried running it on OS 2 here, or AmigaOS 2, and he said that it uses libraries in 3 that makes this not work. So he gave me the command line for it, which is, I mean, it works fine. So if we do device equals dvp.scsi.device, and then we do list, now we can see the files that are directly on the shared folder on the SD card. And, you know, this sounds pretty trivial, but it actually allows you to copy files. So if I do the same thing, and I do receive roguegraph.exe, I can now copy that file. Oh, I guess I gotta spell that correctly too. Non-native speaker. There. Oh. We'll get there. Okay, so now the problem is that there's an issue with the drive, right? So that's just not working. But you get the idea, and that would copy the file over, and this will work correctly once I have unmounted the old drive that's not working, right? But this will allow you to copy files directly from the SD card, which is invaluable because I can take the SD card, plop it in my computer, copy files over, and then copy them into the AmigaOS itself and extract the files there, and then I have the game there. And that's how I copied most of these games. So, but yeah, this is the equivalent of the DOS prompt, so it's a shell. But yeah, we definitely need to play Roguecraft. We'll just play it a little bit because it is a new game that just came out for the Amiga, and it's really, really awesome. So let's play that for a little bit. I've enjoyed it. It's a roguelite dungeon crawler. It's not even roguelite, it's just rogue. You die, and that's it. If he dies, he dies. Let's shoot all. See? Yeah, this is a game that just came out a month or so ago. We're gonna use all a joystick here now. See, it actually does work. And I have a TAC2 joystick here. This is again a rogue crawler or roguelite. Again, I keep saying roguelite. I'm so used to it, but it's just a rogue game because it's not. You don't keep anything when you die. You just die. You're out of the game. But it's got cool music. Turn that up a little bit. And you even have classes you can pick from. So again, this is a game that just came out, and you can play this on your real Amiga, which is what I'm doing. You have 3 classes to pick from. The Warrior is the easiest one, we'll do that. You have a Rogue, which is harder, and then a Wizard, which is very difficult. Now, I will say the thing that is a little bit bummer is that there's really only, at least from what I've gotten, I haven't gotten that far in the game, it's only 2 music tracks. Here's the actual in-game music now. And it plays like a dungeon crawler like this. It's turn-based, so you don't, if you don't move, nothing happens. You can also see that the screen is, you know, pretty small, because again, the Amiga is just all over the place with resolutions and the sizing, and that was fine on a CRT. You also find a lot of chickens. The goal is, of course, to make it down further into the dungeon. What I like about this game above all is that you don't have to open any map or anything. Everything you need to see is on the screen. You know what level you're on, your stats, inventory, your map in the top right corner, everything's there. And you basically go room to room to collect upgrades. Also, it 16 colors at the same time? There's more, right? What's the palette for the Amiga? I can't remember now. It was pretty extensive. Dead end. But this is a game I find myself like firing up now just to play because it's fun. Runs can be a little bit of a, you know, you get to a certain level and all of a sudden like something just very cheaply kills you and then you're out. You have 1 life and that's it. I promise there are other things besides chicken in this game. It also randomizes the potions. The green potion is always healing. Ow. The green potion is always healing, but the other potions are randomized. So you don't know what they are. So you have to kind of use them to find out. But the nice part is that it's, you know, turn-based, so you don't have to worry about things attacking you if you don't move, so... So far, I've only found these 2 music tracks. There might be more. But the music does, you know, it's cool. It's the luck of the draw there, too. The more power you have, the stronger you are. Not quite. I would say, especially platformers, so we can play a couple to see. The Amiga was probably not a strong suit, just rapid scrolling. Game consoles like the SNES were designed for that, right? So they have very good for that. There are definitely good scrolling games in here, but it feels like a lot of the stuff is... It's going to be slower than a SNES, because the Amiga was developed in, you know, it came out in 1980. Ooh, almost dead there now. Oh, there's a green potion. Locked. Oh, it's locked. I would say that it's a close equivalent is, you know, it's almost like a Genesis. Yeah, you had expansion carts, which the Amiga did not have at all, right? So, but it had accelerators and stuff like that. It could do polygonal graphics. So if you play the right game, you get full polygonal graphics. So, and it had its strengths because it was a computer, but probably the games were more advanced on the Super Nintendo. But there's a lot, the variety on the Amiga is ridiculous. I'm gonna try and get that blue thing because it gives me power. Whoop 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 away here. You pick up the crystals, and that gives you more attack strength in the top left corner, and that lets you fight enemies easier. That's what I don't understand, like, because I'm capturing this now, and it's, you know, from what I can tell, very sharp, and that's what I would like to do on the workbench, but I can't figure that out. I guess I can use interlace there for now, then. But here we are. Now we have our Amiga up and running, right? So we can play games. I'm trying to conserve that health pickup because I want to get some more monsters before I pick it up. I may have to go back and get it now. You have to find the key on each level before you can go to the next level. So it's, you know, a little bit of a turn-based Diablo style going on here. Probably the closest one, right? Yeah. The amount of stuff does happen with the SA1, and they have used the ROM stuff where they have basically patched in the SA1 can make games run way faster. I know Gradius 3 was one of the first ones he did. And the SA1 patch on that makes that game like fly. It makes it hard because there's so much stuff flying around. And it takes away all the slowdowns you may have been used to in some games, so. Blocked. Yeah, I'd like to do the accelerator route with this machine, with a real accelerator. I get set. I have a lead on that. Thank you very much to the adventurer. streamer, so go check him out. But besides that, just some cleanup and stuff like that. I like, again, to make it as turnkey as possible, I like to get networking. We'll do that on another stream. I didn't want to do it tonight because we didn't have time to do it. But the Pico that's on the BlueSCSI is a Wi-Fi version, and someone crazy wrote a driver for it and a firmware that lets the Amiga access it. So now you can get your Amiga directly on the internet or copying files. So like I mentioned that earlier in the stream, but I'd love to do that. We may do that dedicated stream for that, because that involves reflashing the BlueSCSI to a different firmware. It involves installing drivers, installing packs, and getting an SMB browser going on that would be just amazing, because then I can browse to my RetroNAS, basically, right, to access files, or FTP stuff. And that sounds so darn convenient. Oh, really? You programmed a SNES game? Yes, Mike, I did. They said that they're a little slow on the shipping because they had some problems manufacturing, which is fine. Cool thing is they sent me the digital code for it right away so I could play it. And then they basically said, you know, your box is coming later and they're going to ship it here in a few weeks. And I'm on a rush, so... but I did order the cheapest box, and it looks pretty nice. That's it. There's often secrets blocked. That's a cool game. You can buy it digitally pretty cheap, and then you can play it directly on your original Amiga or through emulation. And I love the fact that we're getting these new games for old platforms. It's awesome, so. Really? So you did it back in the day then? And they're still waiting for it to be released? That's crazy. Oh, I assume you can't say anything about it then, right? I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but... Okay, so not that long ago then. That's pretty cool. So how does that work with the licensing rights or whatever? Because I assume that's a kicker, right? Is that... Oh, okay. Oh, so an indie game. I see. That was... That's awesome. I love the fact that we're getting, again, new games for old systems. I think it's fantastic. We're playing Xeno Crisis a little bit ago, and that's really cool. You know, Smash TV style shooter. I will play that sometime too in a stream, but it's awesome. So many cool things coming out. Between the new hardware for old computers and new games for old computers, it's we're eating pretty good right now. Nice, Eric. Yeah, that's right. Eric is working on a adventure game using... Oh, I'm terrible. I already forgot what the tool is called. HyperCard on the Mac. And it's coming along quite nicely. It's gonna be awesome. Now, Eric, will the game truly ever be done? Will there be a post-launch patch immediately? No. That's the drawback of all the games these days. They get post-launch patches, and problem with the games are not good in the beginning, and yeah. So the problem now is I don't know. Yeah, saying will never be done. Scope creep. It's like, now, Eric, will Adventure come out first, or will Star Citizen come out first? That's the question. For those not aware, Star Citizen is that Chris Roberts space adventure game that's been in development for ever. I need to get that health now. Whew. And it's scope creeping forever because they have so much cash on hand, so... Yeah, and Eric's working on a game right now. It's an adventure game, right? So... text-based adventure game. See, it's very, you know... It's very, luck of the draw in this game. You can have a good roll. Every time I attack an enemy, which I just, you know, I do by tapping into them. You see there, that was just a tap, and that was a hit, and the other one was a miss, right? So it all depends on your luck of the draw. I don't know what the potions do, so I'll have to figure that out here now. We'll do Trust one. What's the blue one? Time is frozen. Sweet! Nice. Okay, so that's what the blue one does. And it's a random effect each time. You don't know what you're gonna get, and you may not... You only get three potion types. Green is always health, and you get a blue and a red. I don't know what the blue is freezing time. I haven't seen that before. I don't know what the red one does. It could be inverting my controls. It could destroy all the enemies in the room. You have to try it and see what happens. So usually it's a positive effect. Well, let's find out. Ah, yep. So the red just made all the monsters chickens, which is really handy because it just made them, you know, less bad. So still need to find the key. I haven't gotten very far in this game because it gets pretty hard later on, and even with like what I would consider at the time max upgrades, you get steamrolled pretty quickly later on. The enemies hit really hard. I'm not sure if you guys are hearing it now too, but there's stereo separation on the Amiga, so there's actually, you know, channel left and right are different sounds, so. Alright, see you later, Chesty. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'm not gonna play this game too long, but it's easy to get stuck in it. You want to try and position yourself in an advantageous position so that you have, you know, the first attack and stuff, but it doesn't always work out, so. But, yep, exactly. And that requires some creative mixing, right? How does it do it and how does it sound? Cool. Then we got that. Let's see what's in here before we get that heart. Take another hit or so. Heart will always heal you to maximum, so yeah. They're trying to get the best hit too on you all the time. There we go. So max health up. You have to kill enemies to get the upgrades, and you really have to get health and power upgrades. That's just a design choice, because you're sitting in front of a speaker like I am right now. I don't really hear the difference. I'm not sure if you guys are using headphones or anything, but just with a regular speaker, at least I'm sitting far away enough from it. It doesn't bother me, but I can see why it's annoying. But that's just, you know, what they have to do on the Amiga, because it does not mix the two sides together at all. Left and right are separate, so. Next level. So it's getting harder now, because there's mimics here now. They hit hard. I feel for a game that's totally randomized, it gets difficult really quickly. Like right there, I just entered, and you know, really got smacked around pretty quickly. It's probably in there too. Yeah, no, this is a real chest. So requires a strategy, and then if you die there, then you're done. So I'm trying to remember how to say it, but it's the left and right on the Amiga. It can have two tracks on each channel, so it's left and right. 4 total, and that's all. They can't mix them together. So when they made music for the Amiga or sound effects, they have to be pretty clever on where they put it. If they wanted to have uninterrupted music, they leave one channel running with the music the whole time, and interrupt the one with the sound effects so you don't stop the music all the time. And some games just use all the 4 of them for the purpose of music instead of sound effects, so you have to pick. But it requires pretty good, like, you know, ear from the composers and the sound effect makers to make that work well. Chris Hillspec is one that's, you know, one of the more well-known. All the music in his games are fantastic. Ow. But some of them are pretty bad, so. Nope, that's what's this. So they basically put the sound effects on the right side in one of those channels on the right side. And then the music is playing all the time on the left one. Hit pretty hard here now. That was a real one. Huzzah. Ow. Alright, we're gonna have to take a potion. Plug? That end there. It's one of those games like you just want to kind of continue to run and see how far you can get and everything, but it's really fun for short blasts of time. I will say you run out of steam a little bit, so you know that's not something that was well represented on the Amiga, like turn-based RPGs and stuff. I can't think of. I'm sure there are some, but I am drawing a blank right now. It was not something that was represented well on the system. Racing games, strategy games, actually, quite a lot of them. Turn-based strategy games, you know, military tactical games, tons of those. I played Battle Isle, and you know, you have Lemmings, you know, those kind of games are well represented on the system. Puzzler, platformers, you know, and then just tons of platforms in general. That's a mimic. Ow. Jerk. And you could decide now to go to the next level, right? But you're now chicken. And the levels, the design and look of each room is randomized as well. So you do have a kind of a new run every time. So definitely inspirations from Diablo. Close to death there now. Couple hits and I'm gone. Ooh. Woo. Use my potion there to make it. There are usually secrets here and there. I haven't found any yet, so. That plays really well. Yeah, the potions could. You never know. But it keeps you on your toes, right? So, usually there's a secret or two. And you actually saw that the enemy went into the, fire there. Yeah. Very smart. There you go. One less to kill. One less to die. Oh, did I miss a room in the beginning there? I gotta go check it out. Seem right otherwise. And the rogue has an ability that lets them teleport around a little bit. That does on a cooldown. Otherwise, they can take less hits. So the warrior is definitely the easiest. The rogue would be the middle of the pack, and the wizard is the hardest one because they can shoot, well, magic missiles actually. And that's really handy. You get a ranged attack, but you're also very, very weak. So you really gotta like time your steps correctly with the monsters. That makes it quite challenging. Yeah, they say bad luck when they step on like hazards. So those green puddles, fire, things like that, you can get hurt by those, and you can actually, you know, lure the monsters into them because their AI is a little predictable. And yeah, he died of bad luck because he walked into the fire. But it's a really cool game for just having come out. So. And now it gets easier for me to hit them as I level up and get stronger. My strength is higher, I can fight the simpler monsters easier. So you really have to do that. If you go down a level without fighting, you can kind of get stuck pretty quick. Because you can't just... As you see in each combat, it's really random if I hit or not. And it's based on your strength there, so you have to upgrade that. Strategy. And there's been a lot of new games for the Amiga. The same group made another game. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a twin-stick shooter style, low poly one. That was pretty cool too. I haven't tried it yet, but I gotta buy it. And also, the Amiga by default, for those not aware, is basically joystick one button. This is not two buttons; it's one button. So most games use up for jumping, which is really, really annoying. You can rebind that for some controllers, but in general, this is how you control the Amiga. It's a joystick and a button. So that's what you got. Now they introduce environmental hazards, such as spikes that move with your rhythm, so... Alright, should I stop this game or keep going until I die? Your guys' take on that. Enjoying this, or even see another Amiga game? We had time to, so we're not in a hurry to post for the night yet, but I might die here pretty soon. I haven't got too much further. The game gets really hard on the next level, so I'll be happy to hop around some other games too that I do enjoy on the Amiga. The mix. That chicken died. Alright, we'll see how far we get. Sooner or later, it'll be bad luck here, but again, I think this game is really enjoyable. It's not something I play every day, but when you do sit down to play it, it's really enjoyable. Dead end. Hey, what are you implying here? Let's see how far we get. But of course, we haven't played any retro games, well, besides Monkey Island. But it's so much about luck. I mean, yes, there's definitely skill involved in tactics, I think, more. But it's just, you have to be real lucky when you get the drops, how enemies attack you, things like that. Well, I did that plenty when I started playing this game, don't worry, but not anymore. Fortunately, the joystick I'm using, the TAC2, has got micro switches, so it's really, you know, clicks well. Nice direction. Yeah, it went microtransaction out the wazoo. If this game would have come out back then, in the real original Amiga days, I think it would have been a very hot seller. It looks very good. Good music, it plays well. And there were certainly worse games than this being sold at retail and big boxes and everything. You were saying? I should use the potion there. But you can see it tells you now how far you got and what the potion effects were. And then you get kicked back to the main menu. No fuss about it. So, but it's WHD load enabled. They give you both the floppy images, so you can just run it. And they also give you the flickering is real distracting, sorry. They also give you the ADF file, so you can run it from floppy if you want. So there's one game I wanted to do, so I'm gonna... I don't know why it doesn't save that. It's really weird. Copy the L directory. And I can do this over time and just copy stuff slowly but surely. Yeah, it's funny how much the higher resolution interlaced looks good and works pretty well. Yes, for sure. SimCity. We have SimCity, SimAnt, SimEarth, SimLife, SimFarm. I think pretty much all those Sim games. Until you get to SimCity 2000, I don't think it was an Amiga. But SimCity was definitely an Amiga and very popular there. Trying to think of other ones, but yeah, definitely some Axis games on there. Yeah, we can check it out here in a minute. It feels like, I feel like the original SimCity, I am very partial to the Super Nintendo version because it's such a delight to play. It feels like it was enhanced just the right ways. The SimCity on this one is a little more original, a little more bare bones. I think it came out on Amiga pretty early, actually, for SimCity. Pretty good version, but I remember seeing that, like, I didn't know what SimCity was, I think. I saw my neighbor playing it on the 500, and he was, like, building a city. Yeah, we're actually going to check a racing game next. It uses Scalar, but it's one particular one that has fantastic music. You guys will see it as soon as I fire it up here, but... Doom was not possible. John Carmack wrote a very famous email where he said that Doom was not possible the way that the Amiga does, like the blitter graphics that it does, was not possible. There have been ways now that people have figured out better ways to do that, but it's just not, it's not practical. For Doom was never ported. Wolfenstein 3D was possible. I think they supported that. Now, if you have an accelerated Amiga, there are ways to do it now. There's actually Quake for Amiga even, but you have to have a very accelerated Amiga to do that, or PyStorm. That runs it way faster than original Amiga. Oh, that's loud. This is just like gratuitous Lotus stats. Read it. And one of the best soundtracks too. Yeah, the Lotus series is really good, and it morphed into the Top Gear series on the SNES and everything too. This interior measurements of the car. Why did they put this here? It's like, you know, teenage dream reading through all the stats, I guess. It's funny because it's got like 260 horsepower or something like that, and you know, it's a 4-cylinder turbo back in the late 80s, early 90s. That was pretty powerful, but now it's like the camera's got more than that, you know. Oh, not the newer ones, but the older ones, the V6 ones. Practice mode. Yeah, we're gonna do computerized gears. This is what I love too. I freaking love this because you get this like full rail interior look here with like the detail in this game is really good. You get to pick your tracks and listen to the music through here. Now you get to pick your music for the race or sound effects. But then you get this cool like you know, 90s stereo deck here from your car. This is a good use of the Amiga sound chip. I forget what it's called now. I feel like terrible not remembering it, but you have a whole bunch of custom chips in the Amiga, and that's what gave it such a unique feel. And that's the thing that also kind of maybe doomed it, because they weren't using off-the-shelf parts. They were all custom. Like, not all of them, but 68,000 processor, of course, is off-the-shelf, but they named those chips like Denise, Gary, and Paul, and things like that, and they're all custom-made chips for this. So that's what made the Amiga such an amazing computer early on, but then that made it harder to keep up, too, so... Yep, sure do. Or in the trunk or something to load the maps. It's funny because Bear Leach, I think, was a composer here, and he made a lot of these Lotus songs. And he made a lot of the songs for Top Gear as well, and a lot of them carried over. If you play the Top Gear game on Super Nintendo, you'll see the Lotus heritage very clearly. Which then they did the Horizon Chase Turbo came out not too long ago, which was a spiritual successor to all these games, and in modern trapping. And it plays very similar to these. Also very difficult very quickly, but it's a nice throwback, and they used remix tracks composed by Barry Leach again, and you can tell some of those tracks, and you just, you know, loved revisiting. This is probably one of my favorite ones, but... That's right, it's out. I should get that for the Steam Deck. What I found is that... I could be wrong, but I could have sworn Barry Leach was one of the composers for that. He was definitely the one that did the Horizon Chase soundtrack, but... It's a great use of the stereo here, right? Because there's overlap or whatever. Oh, that's right. Isn't there like someone's working on a racing game for the ST to get it around 50 hertz or whatever? So what I found with Horizon, I do love these games. I played Top Gear on the Super Nintendo a lot. We'd go vacationing with the family, another family, and the kids there was friends. I and the kids were friends, and we used to play Top Gear and see how far we can get, split screen. those games get really hard, and that's what I found with Horizon Chase. I was loving it, and at a certain point, it just gets like you make one mistake, and you know, you're kind of screwed. You can't catch up again. It gets so difficult, and that kind of turned me off on it because it's really a great game, portable. It plays fantastic on the deck. Oh yeah, I mean, the Super Nintendo has full stereo. The Amiga they did this to be able to fit more stuff on the sound chip, I'm guessing, right? So, which is why they kind of made this compromise, but... And a lot of music composers that made all the legendary mod tracks, right? They were really creative in how they did that, and just working with, you know, 4 channels split over 2 sides, required some real skill to make that sound really good, and by golly, a lot of them did. We can fire up the mod player here in a minute, too. Yeah, true. And you can do that with the Mister. You can do it with emulation as well. You can do a fake mixing of it to make it stereo. The Mister has an option for it, I believe, lets you set the level of mixing. You can have 25, 50, 75, or 100. Lets you make it full stereo. But it's not stereo separation at that point, right? It's just added on both sides, so... This track is almost beat for beat. Not exactly in Top Gear. But if you haven't played Top Gear on Super Nintendo, do, because it's a really good evolution of the series. We'll get to racing in a second, but these tracks are just great. I love the interface, too. That's it, so... You want a soundtrack? Oh, I guess we'll take the... We'll do this one. Practice track. Practice mode. Turns off. So they basically decided that, you know, we can't do the sound effect and the music at the same time, or at least a little bit. No engine sound. Alright, my boy, thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time. You can hear the music kind of fading out as the sound effect plays. Whoops. So, you know, it's doing the same stuff we've seen in many games. There's no actual dedicated 3D hardware in here, right? It's just software. So, it's scaling it, like many of these games. I mean, we've seen endless number of them. Yeah, that's one of the drawbacks. It does not ever give you full screen, even when you're doing single player. I'm assuming they just couldn't get a smooth frame rate with the full screen. So you can play 2-player in the split screen, but yeah, you always get the split screen. So that's a little bit annoying. It's as much as you get, so... Of course, when you play a real race, there's tons of other cars, too. While they're trying to fix up the one I'm crashing over and over. I remember the 80s when it was like, turbo on everything, because it was cool to have a turbo. Now it's like, tons of cars have turbos. Exciting back then, I guess. Yeah, there's a lot of racing games. So switch to another racing game that I do actually enjoy. Well, it's real difficult, and I never get very far, but I do enjoy the presentation, so... We'll switch to that. I got 2 and 3 here on as well. Lost Touch from Mine is another favorite game of mine. It's really fun. But let's see. Is it... Did I copy the N directory? I have M, not N. I did. Did I copy the M directory? Yeah, I sure did. I copied N. Okay. Where's that? There's that. Can't read it. It's so flickery. No, it's R. Yeah. True. I do love turbos. Like to drive, personally, I drive a WRX. And I am addicted to boosts. Not that like I'm driving nuts all the time, but I just love the swell of torque you get from a boosted engine. So I do enjoy that. But it is funny, like how many cars now, you look at like a Civic has a boosted engine, even the basic ones, right? And just how much they're built. A small turbo coupled with a small engine can give you very, good, smooth performance. And then you look at the crazy ones like the Corolla GR and stuff like that with a 3-cylinder, pushing 300 horsepower. The Amiga has a lot of top-down racing games. This one has a really cool presentation and sound, but it's very difficult. We won't play long, but I just want to show it off a little bit. Look at that! 3D. Wow. Before I figured out the PAL NTSC thing, it was hilarious because it ran way faster, so we was like, disappear immediately. That had nothing to do with the game that you just saw there. Yeah, you see joystick 1, 2, and then keyboard. Red to race. This music is really good in this. And I have so many memories because my friend across the street got this. And I just remember the from the floppy drive over and over, listening to this music as it was loading. Because what they did often was that they hid the loading behind this. So they would fire up like there's the gas. I'm good at this. This game is really hard because you get like hit on like one thing there and now you're damaged. You have no chance. No chance to catch up. At all. So you gotta be like perfect driving from the get-go or you're not making it very far. So I've never gotten very far in this game. It doesn't look too hard, but those are cones. And they're really annoying. That's really difficult. You have gas, you gotta earn money. I do love the music. Yeah. So I got 0 points and no money to spend. But you can spend money to buy upgrades, but you gotta actually pick up money. So, I didn't. 6 damage. I have gas still. You can run out of gas. You gotta keep popping up gas in between the races, too. I think this Stallone is one of the other ones, and I can't remember if they're like Action Heroes or whatever. But it supports 3-player right at the same time. 2 joysticks and a keyboard. Not easy to crowd around and do that, though. What I find challenging in these games is that, it's really hard to see what's going on and where to turn. Ah, the freaking AI won't budge. I guess you gotta learn all the tracks to have a chance here. My car's already broken. It steers very poorly when it has damage. Yeah, I'm trying to drive a straight line, and it's just... I think this game would be a lot more enjoyable if it weren't for the fact that the AI is just brutal. Like, you make one mistake and you're gone. So... But again, there were so many of these top-down racing games. This is definitely not the best one, but I just very nostalgic for me, and also enjoyed the music. So that's the game. So let's quit out of that one. Union Banana, welcome. Let me. Which is the other one? Is it? So. First two, I think. Let's do that one real quick, and then we'll pick out SimCity. I know there was a request on that one, so. Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of those games were not, you know, the AI wasn't very smart. They were just cheating and being way too aggressive. A lot of stuff. This is probably the more popular top-down racing game. Name of the people that made the Lotus games here, I think so. Also great music. Coming soon, Turbo Challenge 2. All those happy 80s people looking at this supercar. This Alfa Romeo-ish looking BMW something. Comes to us. I'm not sure if any of you have played the, I'm Harrison Ford! Sure. If any of you have played the Need for Speed Underground, the first one, the AI rubber bands like crazy in that one. Towards the end of the game, it's ridiculous. You make one mistake and you're out. You see the AI crash, like, flying off, and bam, they're back. Like, immediately. Nancy Ellen, a reporter on the spot for today's top scores. The actor from, it's the actor from RoboCop, the female actor. I think, Nancy Ellen. The music. So many good tracks or soundtracks on Amiga. Awesome. But I find this game challenging as well. I do have weapons here. Oh, I blew it up. That was the developer, I think, or nothing I added, so. Could have been just the image I got for this game, right? So. This one doesn't feel quite as, you know, tough as nails as the Nitro. It has, like, a chance. Ow. Okay. I'm out of front missiles. Yes, exciting racing. This is one of the better liked ones in this series too, but I think that, you know, you put in perspective of when it came out. Don't blow me up, bro. I bloated him up instead. Come on. I'm not last. Oh. I think the cars get faster and faster when you upgrade them too, unless I'm wrong there. Didn't recall that anyway. Pack. I guess when they... Mickey Louder, Nigel Mainsail. Yeah. Oh, look at this, you get a cool Amiga to... Expensive. RAM. Alright, Reverend, thanks for stopping by. Go to bed. Man, the music went into the... Go! Got a RAM now. Oh. Crud. Gotta make that jump there. I think a lot of us are. Wow. There were no survivors. I wish the car would, like, bounce a little bit instead of just, like, smack. Oh, I'm not gonna make that. Nope. And we'll do other Amiga game streams, too, where we just play games, because, I mean, I just wanted to get this machine up and running now, and to copy all the rest of the games. Make it clean and nice, and then... Yay, I made it. Out me way. Oh. And then we can just play random Amiga games, because there's a lot to explore on Amiga, and I, again, wanted to make this machine my turnkey Amiga ready to go. Oh. Made it. Oh. Loaded up under there. I couldn't see anything. Boy, the penalty for getting blown up is pretty ridiculous. Yeah, engine sound is not great, but... This is a very loved Amiga game, but also at the same time, if you're a kid getting this game and this is the one you're playing, I think that's a lot of fun, so... Alright, well, second place, better. Stag Bloomvest. Archon send up. That's great. Alright, well, let's check out SimCity, and then I think we should probably... I'm going to copy the P direct. Oh. I want to check out. We might end on one of the pinball games, because the Fantasies and Illusions and Dreams and all those are just, you know, iconic Amiga games for me. They were on PC, of course, as well, of course, but they just sound so good on the Amiga. But even then, I copied quite a few stuff over here, and it makes me just like, I spend a lot of time tinkering with this because I think it's fun to put the games there and have them ready to go. Again, looking to get that turnkey gaming experience, and I don't know, I really enjoy like scrolling through like top lists, and there are, you know, people have huge collections with like, there's I don't know how many, but multiple hundreds of games on the Amiga easily. Not that I'm saying I'm going to load up everything, but it's like space is not an issue. You can just create another hard drive, like an add another hard drive, and just throw it on there. So what will happen after, once I've copied all the games off and everything, then eventually I will just take that SD card over and then delete that old drive, and then now we'll be back to the 3 drives again with the system and then the 2 expansion drives. And I can always add more if I want to as well. You can just create a new drive and a blank one, go and format it, and presto, you have a new drive. So that's a really cool thing about it. In theory, you could clone or copy the same drive too and re-add it. Then you have the same stuff, so you could carry that with you if you wanted to, or, you know, I want to move to another computer or whatever. You have the hard drive file, so it's a nice way to make a backup of it too if you want to. Just copy the file. Interlaced. mode definitely looks a lot better, at least from a capture perspective. But it's, I don't know how I can describe how flickering it is on this flat panel, but it's fine. It's fine for the art. Yeah, we'll definitely do an Amiga gaming stream at some point where we just play games, because there's just too many to get through tonight, considering how much else we tinkered with. But I'm pleased that I got through this here, and then hoping to get that accelerator figured out at some point. Not this particular one, but getting a lead on that. We have Settlers 2 is also a great one. So it's a lot of really good games on the Amiga. At least in my opinion. There are tons of great ones. I mean, of course, I'm nostalgic for a lot of these, but there's just so many things you can do. It really went in on a lot of tactical strategy games. There's a lot of those, like Lost Patrol, random, military strategy games. A lot of those. North and South is another one that's really fun to play versus another person. Let's see there, it's kicking off the kickstart there for 1.3. If you don't have that installed like we did earlier with the kick, never mind, it's an issue. I think we have to do. So it has to with WHD load. So what happens that has to do with WHD load is not always just a turnkey. There are different things you may have to modify and exclude and things like that depending on your setup to. And most of them have ways around it, and you basically can Google that error and find like what you should do to fix it. Which is fine. Not everything's going to be turnkey, and we'll see if that was the one I had to do. Auto vector, I think, has to do with like auto remapping of memory. No, that was not it. There's another one. Remember what it's called. It's like no auto. I'll look it up real quick. And all the stuff is on the website too, which is pretty cool. Oh, VBR move. Try a couple things, but it's just, again, it's a retro computer and they shoehorn a game in here, so can't always. We'll try that as well. I'm not going to mess with it too much, but it's one of these switches you have to basically enable. No, and you think about it this way, this is not an official way to run the game, technically. If you had the floppies, they probably work fine. It just, the WHD load is, again, kind of like a wrapper to run the game. It has to be adapted and compacted and put into a hard drive image. Some games did allow you to do a hard drive install, but this was not probably one of them, I'm guessing. We'll see if it probably crashes again now. Then we'll just move on. Yep, so I gotta find a right switch. Can do load. A lot of people with the same problem, so. Cache and no autovec. Try. Yeah, really. And then we'll see. It may not like PAL mode. We can switch it to NTSC mode as well, because some of them, I mean, most of them, all the games are defaulting to run to PAL based on my system-wide configuration. That's what I want in general. But it's also possible that this game prefers running in NTSC mode, or it's an NTSC version, and it just crashes on PAL. So if this crashes, we'll try that, and then after that, we'll move on. I'm just curious now. See if it likes NT. All right, last try. Yeah, that's a kicker too. I'm just curious to see what's going to happen in the future, where you know the online check-in stuff is going to be gone. I'm already seeing that now. There's a lot of cracks and patches to get around some of that on older games, but it's not going to get better. You know, if it likes NTSC more, you can see that the resolution is a little different now. So crashes now. We will carry on with another game. I think I tried it, so I'm a little surprised it doesn't work. Yep, nope. It could be also we have like a corrupted memory, so we just need to reboot too. There's a lot of games, but I just keep thinking like, oh, cool, that game. Oh, yeah, that game. Oh, cool, that game. Let's play some pinball. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be lost, unfortunately. I mean, I guess the modding community and the crackers and all that stuff, they're out there helping. You know, it really is the piracy is going to be game preservation. I launch fantasies. The fantasies. I was thinking of dreams, probably. Fantasies is the later one. Yep. That's got great music. Made by Digital Illusions, which is now DICE, makers of Battlefield, etc. So, yeah, probably. The Retro Dome music. Yeah, I just love music for the Amiga in general. Yeah, that's true. Nice. And the SX is one. A bunch of Swedes, yeah. All the pinball games have just amazing music. Great. It feels like a lot of people got their, you know, start or cut their teeth on composing music for the Amiga. It seemed like it was a very hopping scene. It feels like the menu music in these pinball games go way harder than it has to, but it did. A little bit. Right, race car. Doesn't look like a very track-friendly race car. I assume that may have to do with CPU cycles and like what's more appropriate for each game and everything, so yeah, all the pinball games bring great music. There's some darn talented musicians and composers during this era and what they could do with it. I love mod tracker music. It's great. And we'll run a mod tracker song here in a bit too. But I was thinking of Pinball Dreams, not Fantasies. I'm not sure why I launched Fantasies first, but Dreams is the original one that I played the most. And Fresh. Good start. I think so. Yep. All right. Well, we'll get to do Pinball Dreams then. You got to listen to the intro music. Again, it's not turnkey. A lot of these things with WHD load is not just like many games do run with no problems, but many of them require some tweaking, and that's nothing to default to WHD load. Original game. That's just what it takes in some cases. This is NTSC version actually. Screen is all over the place, but whatever. Running too fast. Hang on, I might have checked that that's set to PAL. Yeah, this is NTSC. We probably need PAL on here. That was running too fast. That's the thing, it runs at 60 hertz, which was NTSC, right? Or is NTSC. And PAL is 50, so if the game was made for PAL, then it's going to run too fast. And with music, you hear it very quickly. It's just like, whoa, that's way too quickly. There we go. That's more quickly. And this game was made in Sweden, so it's very much a PAL first, so... They went all in on presentation for these games. This intro song is... It's actually funny because I worked... Amazing. I worked some construction odd job for a bit when I was kind of thinking about what to do for college and stuff, and my landlord in the apartment I lived in, he actually worked for one of these guys originally when they were in the 90s doing construction stuff for them. And you remember when this game took off, they just made a lot of money in a short amount of time. The guy was sitting on like a box in an apartment that was like empty, making phone calls to set up distribution and stuff, and it took off really quickly for them. And it's just, you know, one of those like out of nowhere kind of thing. But they were such high quality games. Not sure if Epic Pinball maybe has even better, more iconic music perhaps, but this is really good. See if the game runs when I start a table. Yeah, I'll probably buy the RGB. So the Amiga 2000 has an internal RGB port as well, which was used for the video devices, like the toaster, things like that. But now, creative people have managed to shoehorn a tie in there to act as a bridge, so then you get HDMI out. So that's awesome. You can just plug that in, and boom, now you have HDMI out on the Amiga. So there are ways to do that on the 500 and 1200 as well, I believe, but then you have to kind of socket it into one of the motherboard sockets. The nice part with the 2000 is it has an RGB slot internally, besides the external one. So. And the music keeps going. These tracks are long. Yeah, look up the pinball game. So Illusions, Fantasies, Dreams, all excellent tracks. Excellent music. Oh, yeah. And you don't really think that the smooth scrolling was a pretty big deal. Like it just plays really well. I'll say I'm good at pinball, but... But the presentation and, like, just solid feel of it, the ball physics, it was I think that's why it's so popular, because it was cool. It was like playing pinball. Smooth scrolling. I am terrible at pinball, as it turns out. I knew that, but... Yeah. Oh, come on. Wow. That was not the money shot, as it turns out. Try that again. Yeah, I know, there's... Well, I'm playing on an LCD through a capture thing, so... But these games, the thing with the Amiga, too, is that the original Amiga monitors are just terrific. They, that's what I'm trying to fix up right now, and I broke one of them. I'm trying to fix that. I have a 1084 as well that I have a cap kit that is to ride for, and is in really good shape, besides... Gotta fix the caps. It's got some geometry issues that I'm sure are due to caps being bad. But the Amiga looks amazing on these because it's analog RGB direct to the monitor designed for it. And, you know, it just looks really, really good. Vivid colors and delicious scan lines. And no, it's a great experience to play Amiga on an actual Amiga monitor. Pinball's stupid. We're not playing pinball anymore. Oof. We'll start thinking on a table. Go with steel wheel. There we go. We'll go Western. But this was awesome. Like, I remember playing back in the day on my friend's Amiga and just like, oh, this is great. It was good pinball, although I, you know, again, I'm terrible at it. But I will definitely say it's not an easy pinball game. As you see, again, I'm not good at this, but I do find it hard to get in the groove where you're not just... ball just kind of keeps flying out. See, it's just... easy to fall out. But yeah, it's just, if you like 16-bit and you haven't messed with the Amiga, it's just a great thing to explore, because it's just, to me, it's the quintessential 16-bit computer. You know, Troubleshooting SD is great too, and I like messing with it. We'll definitely explore that as well. I think it'd be hard-pressed to say that Amiga is not the top there. And, you know, the Apple IIgs was not as popular or as powerful and everything. And Amiga has such a breadth of software games, things you can do. It's just great. So it's well worth investing in the platform, be that through software emulation, be it through, which is really good. I mean, you can emulate an Amiga very well. There's Pi barebone ones that run directly on it. So you can get a Pi Amiga that just boots up the Pi directly into an Amiga workbench. Of course, as powerful as you could want. You can do it through the Mister. You can do it on software emulation or a computer. Real hardware, of course. It's a very popular and mature retro platform. I'm getting new games for it all the time. It's really fun. Yeah. Hey, that did something. It always happens for me when I do get a good streak on pinball. It's always on the third ball. I'm like, it's... I haven't died immediately now, so... There it is. I have not, no. While I enjoy pinball, playing pinball out in the wild, it's not something I seek out. I usually go for the arcade games. Pinball is fun, but probably not on that level. They had a few pinball machines set up at VCF Midwest, which was pretty cool, too. And, yeah, there we go. Let's see, we can do one more maybe before we pack it in. There's so many good games. Some Prince of Persia's on there, PP Hammer. Oh, let's do PP Hammer. That's, I played this. My friend would set this up because, like, I was younger than him. He's several years older than I am, and I will play with him. It's one of my best friends. He was my neighbor that I played with as a kid. He's the one with the Amiga 500, and when I come over to play, he would set me up with, you know, games that were, quote-unquote, more kid-friendly, perhaps. And this is one of those. It's like a platforming drilling game. Holy cow, that's a lot. I noticed the Galloping, whatever they call it, in Chicago as well, Galloping Ghost or whatever. People were going there after VCF on the Monday, and they were really having a, yes, this pneumatic weapon. No jokes allowed. I think it's just the colors and the vibrancy of this game really appealed to me when I was a kid, too. Although that when you the idle animation is this guy smoking, so you don't see that much, but I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, there's a huge like arcade like that, preservation arcade in Chicago that everyone went to afterwards, and we'll probably maybe try and go next year because I always gone home on the Sunday. Yeah, I get it. On one hand, you know, they can't maybe service the CRTs, and this is probably for the easier for them to maintain and manage. But I know there's arcades that, you know, focus on getting the CRTs working. But on one hand, I get it. On the other hand, it's really sad. Yeah, there's got to be ways to do that versus just smacking an LCD in there, right? Using glass in front of it and stuff like that, you can probably get closer, but there's something magical about a CRT. But I get the maintenance and keeping them alive is you know, it's a challenge. There's no denying that. That's a lot more work for a company, right? So... an up button to jump. Oh. You're defenseless against these rodents and things. Whoops, and I died. Ah, yes, old school platformers where you just, you know, no second chances. Like I said, I have another guy. Ooh. Secrets. Oh, come on. Can push up to jump. There we go. Yeah, and it's crazy, especially as I'm learning to service these things now too, realizing that, you know, if you don't do it, or you have someone close that can do it, they're gonna die out. So I did take the step, like the 1084 monitor I have, which is really good. It's a really, really nice CRT from Commodore that is very useful because it handles a lot of stuff. You know, PAL, NTSC, 15 kilohertz. all this stuff. It's really good for a lot of retro purposes. The one I got had been knocked around a little bit, so the alignment or the convergence was off, and convergence is the color not matching up, or the three different colors are split up. On the left side, it was really bad. And I'd read up on it and watched videos on it. I understood that the yoke, which is the coil thing that sits on the back of the tube that bends the beam, has fallen off a little bit. So I did it. I had it powered on. I opened the case. I had rubber gloves on, like real rubber gloves on for that work. And I cut the glue on the stoppers, took those out, and repositioned the yoke to the point where it was much better image. And then I put those stoppers back in and screwed the screw back in to keep it tight. And the image is a lot better now, like way better than it was before. And there's a sense of satisfaction in doing that. And again, that monitor needs a recap, and I just got a cap kit for it. So, but getting over my hurdle of discharging a CRT and working on it was really satisfying, because hopefully now I can, fix them and make them work longer. Yeah, it was a little bit like, but then I realized, like, again, I have to do this if I want to keep them alive. Good fire here. Oh! Now, what I haven't done yet is I need to... I'll do some hot air now. Bonus stage. This is what I loved as a kid. Well, you can only dig diagonally, so if you dig straight down, you're gonna get stuck. Alright. If you fail, he throws his hat down and starts cussing, so... But I thought it was so cool to see the Lego bricks. It was just like, oh man, that's cool. Alright, that might be enough too. Might be enough Amiga for tonight, but I could play this forever. And the Amiga is one of those things that I actually... exit button here. No exit button? Huh. Weird. Usually WHD load has a exit button. That's print screen, delete, or F10. That doesn't work here, so I guess we'll leave it there. Pretty much. So yeah, the Amiga is one of those, like, I just sit down like, I want to play Amiga games. The same way I want to play Genesis games or Super Nintendo games an evening. And Amiga is something I go sit down and actually play, which is why it's so nice to have a hard drive-based Amiga I can just turn on, because I do love the Amiga 500, but I don't have any hard drive in it. Maybe I'll do it in the future, but otherwise I have to use floppies, and that's nostalgic, but it's not convenient, right? So a GoTech is probably needed, things like that. So this is really cool to have it fully ready to go. And there's really cool software too, painting programs, music composing programs. Amiga is kind of a wonder computer in that sense, but probably going to call it there. And we'll do more streams with this machine for sure. It's really fun to explore and tons of games to play. So we'll definitely stream it again. But thanks for sitting with me as I reloaded and remembered how the heck to do that. And hopefully everyone enjoyed messing around with the Amiga. And if you guys have things you want to see me play, let me know. Discord or whatever. Excuse me. Otherwise, we'll see. I'm not going to commit yet to playing every week, or streaming every week. We'll see. Right now, assume next week, but I'll let everyone know if that changes. But may not stream every week. But anyway, it was fun. So, I had a Nebulous. Okay. I have never heard of that, so I'll check it out then. So, good suggestion as far as like a JRPG style game. Huh, okay. I'll check it out. Thanks for the suggestion. But yeah, anyway, thanks everyone for hanging out. Hopefully I'll see you next time. If not, see you online for all random things to. So have a good one. Have a good weekend. I'll see everyone later. Good night.